Chapter 612, The Demon Path Engulfment Family Rules. But before he had a chance to use them, he had already broken through to the middle stage of foundation establishment. Although elixir medicines could still be consumed at the middle stage of foundation establishment, their efficacy would relatively decrease. It would be better to give these elixir medicines to Lu Miaoge for cultivation. In this way, Lu Miaoge's cultivation wouldn't be too delayed while treating Ling Zixiao. So many elixir medicines? Lu Miaoge looked at all these bottles and jars with some surprise. She knew that second-rank elixir medicines were very rare and not easy to buy on a regular basis. I had some fortune before and received an alchemy inheritance, and without realizing it, I became a second-rank alchemist. All these elixir medicines were made by me, so feel free to use them, Lu Changxing said with a laugh. He disclosed his identity as a second-rank alchemist. He planned to gradually reveal his alchemy skills to the outside world. Therefore, he didn't keep it from Lu Miaoge any longer and directly told her about it. Although it was somewhat sudden, considering the cultivation techniques and foundation establishment elixirs previously, Lu Miaoge should have a certain capacity for acceptance. What, a second-rank alchemist? Changxing, you're saying you've become a second-rank alchemist, and you made these elixir medicines yourself? Lu Miaoge's face showed a look of shock and astonishment. Even though she knew her husband had many fortuitous encounters and secrets, and that he was even more impressive than she had imagined, she couldn't help but be amazed. After all, this was about being an alchemist. A second-rank alchemist at that. Lu Changxing had actually become a second-rank alchemist without anyone noticing. This was truly astonishing. But thinking about Lu Changxing's performance over the past year, she gradually came to terms with it. She felt that a second-rank alchemist seemed reasonable. After all, orthodox-level cultivation techniques, perfect foundation base, and defeating 3 foundation establishment cultivators each was more astounding than being a second-rank alchemist. She was just surprised because she had a clear understanding of what a second-rank alchemist was. Techniques like orthodox-level cultivation techniques and perfect foundation base had already surpassed her comprehension. Yes, Sister Miaoge, I never had the chance to tell you before, Lu Changxing said somewhat sheepishly. If you had told me before, I would have thought you were joking, Lu Miaoge said softly, her beautiful eyes brimming with emotion. She understood revealing such incredible talent too early without the strength to back it up could attract trouble. Moreover, Lu Changxing would not have been believed to be a second-rank alchemist without demonstrating it to her in person. It looked as though she had thought of something and turned to Lu Changxing. Changxing, was your talisman-making skill already at the second rank a long time ago? Not exactly a long time ago, Lu Changxing replied sheepishly. Doesn't that mean when I was advising you on talisman making, you actually already knew how to do it, just pretending to be clueless? Lu Miaoge said in a sweet voice. She thought about how earnestly she had advised Lu Changxing on talisman making and exchanged experiences on the talisman path with him. Looking back on it now, it felt embarrassing. How could that be? I didn't know much when I was self-taught at the beginning. If it weren't for your guidance and advice back then, Sister Miaoge, how could I have made such fast progress in the talisman path? Lu Changxing said, holding his wife's hand and laughing. Lu Miaoge let out a playful hum, not believing his words at all. She knew Lu Changxing was just humoring her to make her happy. Ling Zixiao, watching this scene, felt somewhat amused, thinking that Lu Changxing indeed kept his talents well hidden. But seeing the couple so intimately close, she felt a different kind of emotion stirring inside her. It's all my fault, I shouldn't have kept it from you all this time. I will make it up to you now and apologize properly, Lu Changxing said as he embraced Lu Miaoge, pressing his lips tenderly against hers and speaking gently. He was prepared to try the dual cultivation of the Taixing Shueju to see the effects of nourishing with the origin source. Lu Miaoge let out a sultry moan, her face incredibly flushed. She lightly punched Lu Changxing, indicating that Ling Zixiao was still there. Ling Zixiao let out a light chuckle at the scene. Even though she wouldn't mind watching the intimate display, she could see that Lu Miaoge was relatively conservative by nature and stood up to leave the cave dwelling. As Ling Zixiao walked away, Lu Miaoge's tense body gradually relaxed. A moment later. Sister Miaoge, begin cycling your cultivation technique, Lu Changxing said softly to Lu Miaoge. The two of them circulated their cultivation techniques, and under the intermingling of yin and yang energies, a trace of origin source was gradually formed. Lu Changxing tried to cycle his cultivation technique, letting this trace of origin source bathe his Tao foundation. It doesn't work, does it? Seeing that this trace of origin source had no significant effect on his Tao foundation, Lu Changxing sighed softly. knowing that his Tao foundation was probably at a certain limit. Could the yin-yang fish transformed from the yin-yang energies assimilate this trace of origin source? Lu Changxing suddenly thought that his yin-yang 5 elements foundation base's yin-yang energies could devour the origin source of a spiritual body, thus transforming. So, could it digest this origin source as well? But since his yin-yang energies were still recovering from nourishing Ling Zixio's Tao foundation a few days before, he would have to try next time. Immediately he and Lu Miaoge continued to operate their cultivation techniques, refining Lu Miaoge's Tao foundation with this trace of origin source, which still had some effect on Lu Miaoge. If the two of them continuously engaged in dual cultivation, then it was likely Lu Miaoge's Tao foundation could also undergo a transformation. Afterward, Lu Changxing inquired about the peculiarities of Lu Miaoge's Tao foundation. A perfect foundation base, besides being more robust than ordinary ones, also has certain characteristic benefits like his own Tao foundation's yin-yang energies. Xiao Xie's Tao foundation enhances the absorption and refining speed of nature's spiritual energy. My Tao foundation imbues my mana with grandeur and vastness, with a deep and long-lasting essence. With each breath, I can recover mana at a rate several times that of ordinary people, Lu Miaoge said softly, describing the effect of her Tao foundation. It's quite similar to what the Water of Virtue technique records. Chapter 613, The Demon Path Engulfment Family Rules. _4, Although influenced by my Tai Dao seed and thus sharing more similarities, the cultivation technique essentially remains unchanged, except for the difference in the strength of the Tao foundation's effects. Lu Changxing nodded slightly upon hearing this, gaining a general understanding of Lu Miaoge's situation. Lu family mansion. Tower, you've done well. Married into the Lu family for half a year and now carrying an heir, this superior grade magic robe and 3 supreme talismans are your father-in-law's rewards. That day Lu Changxing learned of some news. His son Lu Xianzi's wife, Su Qiaoer, was pregnant. As the first daughter-in-law of his own who possessed a spiritual root, he naturally wouldn't be stingy now that she was carrying a child. He generously awarded her. Su Qiaoer was completely taken aback by such a generous reward. She came from a minor qi refinement family. Although she was the legitimate daughter with decent conditions, she would only receive 10 spirit stones a month. Now, just for being pregnant, her father-in-law bestowed upon her a superior grade magic robe and 3 supreme talismans, leaving her somewhat at a loss. A superior grade magic robe was worth 600 or 700 spirit stones. Plus, the 3 supreme talismans meant that this single gesture was valued at 1,000 spirit stones. Such a generous act truly astounded her. Qiaoer, this is your father-in-law's intention, you can accept it with peace of mind. Lu Miaoyun, seeing this, stepped forward and said to Su Qiaoer, "Thank you for my father-in-law's gracious gift." Su Qiaoer then bent forward to express her gratitude. She had initially been sent by her father to serve Lu Changxing as a maid. But in the end she married Lu Xianji and became his wife. Originally, she thought that with over 100 children and her husband just being a 9th grade spiritual root, he wouldn't be particularly favored or valued by Lu Changxing. However, after marrying into the Lu family, she discovered that her father-in-law treated his children exceedingly well, beyond reproach. As his daughter-in-law, she now felt fortunate to benefit from this for the first time. Xianji, now that Qiaoer is pregnant, you should take good care of her on a daily basis. You don't need to be so busy with affairs, Lu Changxing spoke out. He understood his son's character very well. Although his spiritual root talent was lacking, he was very serious about his work. When he asked him to learn puppetry, he devoted himself wholeheartedly to mastering the puppetry technique. When he asked him to consider starting a family, he followed the family's arrangements. These days, as he had been tasked with overseeing family affairs and understanding by Lake Mountain's business, most of his time was consumed by these duties. Yes, father, I understand, Lu Xinji bowed immediately in response. Good. Lu Changxing gave a few more instructions to his son and then let him take Su Qiaoer away. Yuner, regarding the family system, you should take the time to draft rules and regulations. At this moment, Lu Changxing looked towards Lu Miaoyun and spoke. Today, Su Qiaoer's pregnancy made him realize that the family system needed refinement. Back in Qingzhou Mountain he was very casual. He let Lu Miaoyun manage and allocate the Red Leaf Valley cave dwelling, the Lu family's 100 mu of spirit fields, and his own contribution points. The cultivation resources and spirit stones for the children's rearing were all approximate, without strict rules. Such an approach could work for a small household. But now that they had established a family, as the children grew up and started forming their own families, a set of rules and regulations was naturally necessary. Husband, can you take a look at this set of family rules and regulations from Qingzhou Mountain? Upon hearing this, Lu Miaoyun brought out the rules and regulations from Qingzhou Mountain for Lu Changxing to review. Raise the welfare and benefits for each person slightly, then for female cultivators who marry into our Lu family, they are now part of the Lu family and the treatment should be the same for everyone. The same applies to those who marry into the family. Furthermore, encourage childbirth, and as long as a child is born there will be a reward. If the child is found to have a spiritual root, grant an additional reward. And until the child turns 20, all expenses will be borne by the family. After reviewing it, Lu Changxing thought for a while and made several suggestions. In his view, having children was essential, a tradition of his own family. However, he didn't want to rush marriages. But he would encourage and compensate for childbirth through rewards. After all, childbirth could certainly affect a cultivator's cultivation under certain conditions. This welfare policy was also intended to make female cultivators willing to marry into his family and have more children. Having said that, he added, regarding the secular side there should also be a general charter, but change the rewards a bit, given in spirit rice, spiritual objects and the like. You can find out what the children want in this regard, and ask Sister Miaoge, Zi Xiao and the others for suggestions. Lu Changxing conveyed such sentiments. Alright, I'll talk to Sister Miaoge, Sister Zi Xiao and the others later, and then ask the children what they would like, Lu Miaoyun replied upon hearing this. She thought to herself how her husband had indeed not changed his fondness for children in any way, no matter what. Now that she was having fewer children, he was beginning to encourage the children to have more. By the way, Yuner, after the establishment of the clan ceremony, Lu Changxing spoke up, expressing his plan to hold a wedding ceremony for Chu Xinjin and others after the clan establishment ceremony. This was a promise he had once made to Chu Xinjin, Lu Lanshu and others. And he announced that he would elevate all the maids in the house to the status of concubines. Then, as for concubines, they would be classified into 9 grades. Each grade would receive different treatment. For now, the gradation would start from the 9th grade. In the future, promotions would be based on family contributions, children's accomplishments, and the honor brought by a son. He also wanted Lu Miaoyun not to do everything by herself. She could assign some duties to the junior concubines and maids in the house, such as providing enlightenment education for the children, or cultivating spirit plants, growing spiritual medicine, rearing spirit fish, and so on. All right. Lu Miaoyun immediately nodded in agreement when she heard this. She knew that the current maids in the house had almost all given birth to 5 or 6 children for Lu Changxing. Among these children, many possessed the spiritual root. Now that they were establishing their own family, Lu Changxing was willing to give the children's mothers a status. Otherwise, constantly being referred to as maids would always sound somewhat unseemly. Oh, and Yuner, keep these cultivation techniques, Lu Changxing said as he handed the purple true solar scripture, green wood sunfire technique, sun daylight sword scripture, lunar solar sword scripture, Venus solar sword technique, Jupiter wood sword scripture, Saturn solar sword technique, Mars solar sword technique, Earth solar sword technique, 9 exquisite level cultivation methods, and 5 high-grade cultivation techniques to Lu Miaoyun to manage and assign to the children. Aside from Lu Pingan, the other children in the family were still practicing the returning origin technique. Previously he thought it was inconvenient to teach them, but now that the family was established, Lu Changxing naturally wouldn't keep hiding these techniques. As for the peripheral sect level and orthodox level cultivation techniques, which greatly depended on one's insight, he would transmit them personally as he saw fit. So many cultivation techniques. Lu Miaoyun was shocked to see these techniques. It was common knowledge that in the cultivation world, the transmission of cultivation techniques was extremely rare and ordinary people rarely had a chance to obtain any such methods. Otherwise, Qingzhou Mountain wouldn't have just a few high-level techniques. In the past, your husband came across some opportunities. These techniques will be the Lu family's treasured cultivation methods in the future. Yuner, you must keep them well guarded, he told her. If a child shows talent and insight, they can be allowed to practice these few manuals. If their insight is just average, they should practice the basic techniques. Lu Changxing was introducing these techniques to Lu Miaoyun. He indicated that if the wives and concubines in the family wanted to cultivate, they could also choose from these methods, and if they were unsure about which one to pick, they could consult Ling Zixiao for assistance. Don't worry, husband, Yuner will do her best. Lu Miaoyun nodded vigorously. After all, Lu Changxing entrusting so many cultivation methods to her spelled immense trust. It was known that a single technique often set the limit to a person's cultivation. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. The family banquet hosted by Qingzhou Mountain for Lu Miaoge was about to begin. Lu Changxing accompanied Lu Miaoge with Lu Miaoyun, Lu Miaohuan, and Chu Jinjin in tow to attend. The family banquet was very lively. Even though it was a family affair, mostly involving one's own people, there would still be family forces coming to deliver gifts and congratulations. Especially since the recent events at Bai Lake Mountain had brought Qingzhou Mountain into full limelight. Since establishing a family required registration with the Qingyun sect within a month, Lu Changxing, after the banquet, briefed Ling Zixiao and then set off for Qingyun sect. Chapter 614. Yun Wanshang, how did he come to Qingyun sect? _ 3 days later. Qingyun sect. Lu Changxing looked into the distance at the Qingyun sect surrounded by misty, continuous mountains, bathed in the rosy glow of dawn, and let out a breath. Since being rejected in the immortal sect's assessment at Qingyun sect over 20 years ago, he had never returned. As a mortal back then, he found the sight of Qingyun sect to be a wondrous fairyland that left him in awe. Now, after so many years in the cultivation world, having seen small families, marketplaces of all sizes and immortal cities, Lu Changxing truly grasped the grandeur and vastness of Qingyun sect. Under the bright sunlight, a great formation resembling an upside-down bowl of white jade glass radiated thousands of rays of light and colorful auroras, enveloping dozens of mountain peaks within. One could vaguely see on the straight, towering peaks, the construction of palaces, pavilions and terraces, and several waterfalls like jade dragons cascading from the mountaintops, majestic beyond words. In the deepest part of the mountains, shrouded in mists, there appeared to be a floating palace. Like a heavenly city, it inspired awe and a sense of invisible oppression, as if one was as insignificant as an ant. Most families and marketplaces use great formations to shroud and hide their internal details, making it hard to see clearly. But Qingyun sect openly displays theirs as a form of deterrence. Lu Changxing sighed with emotion. Afterward, steering his flying shuttle at a slower pace, he headed towards the gate of Qingyun sect. Who goes there? At the gate of Qingyun sect, two disciples guarding the mountain approached Lu Changxing for questioning. They were both at the qi refinement stage, but seeing Lu Changxing's foundation establishment aura, they were fairly polite. Lu Changxing here is planning to establish a family under Qingyun's jurisdiction and has come to the supreme sect to register and record. Lu Changxing said, clasping his hands in a salute. Establishing a family, registering and recording? Upon hearing this, the two disciples nodded, immediately requested Lu Changxing to relay all the information for recording. Lu Changxing by Lake Mountain? Are you the senior Lu Changxing who single-handedly killed 3 foundation establishment cultivators? One of the disciples showed a surprised expression upon hearing Lu Changxing mentioned by Lake Mountain. The news of Lu Changxing's act of killing 3 members of the Yu family and establishing himself at Bai Lake Mountain had caused quite a stir. Since Bai Lake Mountain was not too far from Qingyun sect, this disciple had some knowledge about it. Indeed it is I. Lu Changxing replied with a smile. All right, please wait patiently, Senior Lu, I will notify them immediately. The Qingyun sect disciple became even more courteous after hearing his words. After all, there are differences even among foundation establishment cultivators. Lu Changxing clearly was no ordinary foundation establishment cultivator. Although they were disciples of an immortal sect, their future prospects of breaking through foundation establishment were not great. If they could make the acquaintance of such a figure and leave a good impression, who knows, it might be of help in the future. Thank you. Lu Changxing took out 2 middle-grade spirit stones, giving a slight bow. He then inquired how long this kind of matter typically took. They responded that such matters were handled by the record hall. If the record elder was busy, it might take 2 or 3 days. If not busy, it could usually be done on the same day. Hearing this, Lu Changxing nodded, then waited calmly on the side. During the wait, he saw some disciples of Qingyun sect going out or returning. He wondered if Han Lin and Zhao Qingqing were at the sect. Although he didn't interact much with them, since he was already at Qingyun sect, he thought it proper to meet and catch up. And there was his brother-in-law, Xia Zhaoyang. His concubine, Xia Zizhu, had informed him that Xia Zhaoyang had made a breakthrough to the energy refinement late stage. After the registration is finished, he'll send a message for a reunion. Lu Changxing exhaled softly, planning to first take care of the formalities. Meanwhile, at Shaojing Mountain, inside a cave dwelling, I've received word that Lu Changxing has already arrived at Qingyun sect. Don't worry, as long as you cultivate the technique I gave you, this second-rank spiritual contract will resolve by itself. At worst, there'd be a slight backlash, not enough to cause your cultivation realm to fall. Once I handle Lu Changxing and obtain his fortune, I will then aid you in your recovery. The man in the black robe looked at Yuninghu before him with an eerie, rigid face and a smile, showing a ferocious and terrifying expression. Yes. Yuninghu took a deep breath and responded in a low voice. He knew he had no other choice. The other party's words were not a discussion, they were a command. Moreover, ever since that day he was forced to ingest the corpse incarnation, he felt a change in his body and something beyond his control. Start the cultivation technique. Seeing this, the man in the black robe slapped Yuningus back, his palm shrouded in black mist, making him start the cultivation technique. Qingyun Sect. Kaiyun Peak. In the steamy spiritual pool, a fairy with snow-white shoulders and hair like a waterfall was sitting and bathing. After a long while, Yun Wanshang opened her beautiful eyes and rose from the spiritual pool. Her wet, black hair attached to her back that was frosty as snow, hanging down to her full, snow-white waist. This sight highlighted the stark contrast between her delicate, sense-stirring skin and her lustrous, black hair. Her perfect, graceful body stood erect, plump where it should be and slim where it should be, with the crystalline water droplets sliding down her snow-white skin, emanating a pure and noble aura. Her slender and rounded legs, straight and long, gracefully stepped out of the spiritual pool. Her exquisitely shaped feet, fair as carved ivory or sculpted snow, had nails painted with rouge, looking moist and enticing. She lifted her hands delicately, slipped on a white tube-top undergarment, slid her legs into pants as smooth as jade, and draped over a colorful skirt embroidered with cloud patterns, her entire being exuding an aura of refined elegance. Arriving at her bedroom, Yun Wanshang noticed a palm-sized jade pendant with a cloud and mist design on her dressing table that was flickering with rosy light. Chapter 615. Yun Wanshang, how did he come to Qingyun Sect? She looked at the jade pendant, furrowing her brows slightly, feeling a pause in her heart. This jade pendant was one of a pair with the He Guang Tong Chen jade she had initially given to Lu Changxing. Between the two jade pendants, there was a mutual sensitivity. This was also why she had given the He Guang Tong Chen jade to Lu Changxing initially, signaling a life-and-death crisis that could activate the jade pendant to call for help from her. Otherwise, like common communication tools, they would all have distance limitations. If it was too far away, there would be no way to sense it at all. How did he come to Qingyun Sect? Looking at the flowing halo of the jade pendant, Yun Wanshang knew that Lu Changxing must be within 100 miles of Qingyun Sect, or he had arrived at Qingyun Sect. Only at this distance would her own Ji Yu Qing Feng jade feel a response. Yun Wanshang did not pay it any mind and stored the jade pendant in her storage ring. Ever since she learned about the affair between her disciple Xiao Xie and Lu Changxing, she had no wish to have any further involvement with Lu Changxing. She dismissed the idea of cultivating Lu Changxing, having the two become a Taoist couple, and dual cultivating the spirit-nurturing energy. Yun Wanshang sat in front of the vanity, gathering her hair into a bun and skewering it with a hairpin. Then with a fragrant stride, she stepped out of the grand hall, transforming into a rainbow of divine light, heading towards the enforcement hall. As a nascent soul immortal of Qingyun Sect and the peak master of Kaiyun Peak, she also served as the master of the enforcement hall. Due to incidents involving the demonic path over the years, Qingyun Sect had captured many cultivators of the demonic path. Qingyun Sect naturally did not simply execute these demonic path cultivators. Such cultivators often possessed many secrets, related messages, or even cultivation techniques, incantations and treasures. All of these were the responsibility of the enforcement hall to interrogate. After thoroughly extracting their value, these demon cultivators would then be either executed or used as labor, depending on the circumstances. Qingyun Sect. Record Hall. Lady Meng held a jade scroll, looking over one sect affair after another. Lu Changxing of Qingzhou Mountain has established a family on by Lake Mountain? Lu Changxing by Lake Mountain? At this moment, Lady Meng glimpsed a piece of information in her hand, her eyes narrowing slightly. She then thoughtfully opened another jade scroll. Inside, a vivid map emerged. With a slight mental command, she altered the map, and By Lake Mountain appeared. On it was information about the Yu family of By Lake Mountain. Looking at the information on the Yu family of By Lake Mountain, she turned to a disciple beside her and asked, how did the Yu family of Bai Lake Mountain come to change masters? Reporting to Elder Meng, as far as this disciple knows, initially, while the Lu family of Qingzhou Mountain was breaking through to Foundation establishment, the patriarch of the Yu family took the opportunity to cause trouble. Then Lu Changxing alone killed 3 Foundation establishment ancestors of the Yu family and subsequently joined forces with the 100 Birds Lake Bai family to demand justice, eventually forcing the Yu family to hand over Bai Lake Mountain as compensation, spoke the disciple of the record hall. Lu Changxing alone killed 3 Foundation establishment cultivators. Upon hearing these words, Lady Ming's expression immediately darkened and she grew colder. Because of the matter involving her grandson Meng Yibai, she had been keeping a covert watch on Xiao Xia. In the process, she learned that Lu Changxing and Xiao Xia had an unusual relationship, so she had investigated Lu Changxing. Seeing that he was just a junior from a small clan who had just broken through to Foundation establishment, she hadn't paid much attention. Now, hearing that Lu Changxing had killed 3 Foundation establishment cultivators on his own, she grew suspicious. She suspected that Lu Changxing was the one who had killed her grandson Meng Yibai. After all, she had kept an eye on Xiao Xia for so many years, and it was only Lu Changxing and the loose cultivator Han Li who seemed to be close to Xiao Xia, especially Lu Changxing. Her daughter was even willing to recognize Xiao Xia as her godmother. Originally, Lu Changxing had been just a junior who had barely broken through to Foundation establishment, and she hadn't taken him seriously. But now, she immediately suspected that Lu Changxing was hiding his true abilities. It was possible that the one who broke through to Foundation establishment with Xiao Xia might have been Lu Changxing. Otherwise, how could a mere son-in-law from a small clan possess such capability? To kill 3 Foundation establishment great cultivators right after breaking through to Foundation establishment. Instantly, Lady Ming's expression turned icy as she declared, Qingyun sect has a rule that within 3 years, no family power under its jurisdiction may engage in conflicts or wars. What's going on with Lu Changxing to be so bold as to openly defy the rules and seize control of another clan's spiritual land? Lady Ming's aged face was full of authority as she spoke coldly. Although it was just a suspicion when it came to her grandson's revenge, she was not willing to let it go. Moreover, she had always felt apprehensive about seeking vengeance. Apprehensive about offending Xiao Xia because of the false core formation master backing Lu Changxing. But now, with Lu Changxing falling into her hands, she could fully take advantage of Qingyun sect's name and rules under the pretext of this incident to capture Lu Changxing. Then she would naturally come to know whether or not Lu Changxing was the perpetrator. If it wasn't Lu Changxing, then it wasn't. If it were truly done by Lu Changxing, she could not only seek revenge for her grandson, but also did not have to worry about the true immortal backing Lu Changxing. After all, would anyone dare to behave recklessly in the Qingyun sect? This disciple, upon hearing these words, immediately showed a look of surprise on his face and wanted to say that it was the Yu family who first violated the rules. But seeing the expression of Lady Meng, he quickly swallowed back the words he intended to say. After all, such matters seldom had clear boundaries. As long as it wasn't too excessive or outrageous, the Qingyun sect generally couldn't be bothered to deal with it. Even if they were to handle it, it would not be up to the record hall to decide, but rather the enforcement hall. Elder, this disciple does not know. The disciple said, lowering his head. With such a matter at hand, the enforcement hall has done nothing. I will report to the enforcement hall now and have the enforcement team apprehend this person to set an example. Lady Ming snorted coldly. Then, transforming into a dazzling rainbow, she headed to the enforcement hall to report the matter. Could it be that this Lu Changxing has offended Elder Meng in the past? Or does Elder Meng have a relationship with Bai Lake Mountain? Several disciples from the record hall looked at each other, speculating in their minds after witnessing this scene. They knew all too well that ever since Lady Meng's grandson was inexplicably slain, her mood had become unpredictable and mercurial. So, those disciples didn't dare to provoke her. Furthermore, no one would stand up for a loose cultivator at the Foundation establishment level and risk offending an elder of their own sect. They just felt pity for Lu Changxing, who had finally gained an opportunity to achieve something and was about to establish his own family, but had now run afoul of Lady Meng's ill humor. Outside the gates of Qingyun sect, Lu Changxing was still waiting for a reply. Just then, 2 imposing Foundation establishment cultivators wearing Qingyun robes approached the gate and called out, "Who is Lu Changxing?" "I am Lu Changxing." Hearing this, Lu Changxing responded, cupping his hands in greeting. But the appearance of these 2 individuals puzzled him. Both had a sharp and extraordinary presence. Especially on their disciple robes, there was a character FA, law. They didn't quite look like the clerks responsible for registration and record-keeping. "You are Lu Changxing, please come with us," one of the Foundation establishment cultivators said with a chilling gaze upon Lu Changxing, nodding his head before speaking. "May I know who you two are?" Lu Changxing's brow furrowed slightly as he sensed something amiss. Because the demeanor and tone of these two were completely different from the disciple he had spoken with before. Their eyes carried a hint of judgment, while their manner was somewhat commanding. Chu Tinga of the Qingyun sect's enforcement hall. The Qingyun sect has rules. Within 3 years of a major conflict, all families and powers under its jurisdiction are forbidden from waging war, and someone has reported that you forcefully seized the spiritual lands of another family. So come with us. One of the Foundation establishment cultivators spoke. Someone reported that I forcefully seized another family's spiritual lands? Lu Changxing's expression darkened slightly. When he seized by Lake Mountain, he did so in the name of Qingzhou Mountain, claiming the moral high ground. To avoid any trouble from Qingyun sect representatives and adhere to the rules, he had used conciliatory means. He let Ninghu of the Yu family transfer the deed of the spiritual land as a form of compensation to him. This procedure was perfectly executed, with no issues, and was fully legitimate and beyond reproach. But now, the Qingyun sect was claiming that there had been reports of him forcefully seizing property. Lu Changxing immediately suspected that descendants of the Yu family within the sect had used some connection to report him. Otherwise, if it had been against the rules, the Qingyun sect should have contacted him much earlier. How could such an incident arise only after he came to the Qingyun sect to register? "Let's go." The two enforcement disciples continued, looking at Lu Changxing while a magic chain artifact appeared in their hands, as if they were ready to act should Lu Changxing make any sudden moves. "All right." Seeing this, Lu Changxing nodded. He followed the two enforcement disciples into the Qingyun sect. In such a situation, it would be utterly irrational to confront the Qingyun sect disciples. He wanted to see whether someone had reported him or if there was some other explanation. If it really was a report against him and the Qingyun sect intended to punish him, he figured that the Qingyun order given to him by Qiyun True Immortal would help resolve the matter. Chapter 616. Yun Wanshang, are you a breeding pig? _1 Enforcement Hall within a side hall. Elder Meng, rest assured the enforcement hall will certainly verify and handle this matter thoroughly. Once it's confirmed, we will punish the offenders severely. A middle-aged man with a jade crown, a face as white as jade, and wearing a dark magical robe, wore a smile as he assured the Elder Meng in front of him. Executor Yen can put his mind at ease. In matters such as these, I would naturally not spread falsehoods. Elder Meng revealed a smile on her withered face upon hearing this. While the enforcement hall represents the Qingyun sect's punishment and rules, where there are people, there are invariably personal connections and worldly considerations. As an outer sect elder of the Qingyun sect, asking the enforcement hall to handle such a vague small issue with a bit more severity was naturally a simple matter for her. After all, Lu Changxing was merely a cultivator from a minor family. The enforcement hall was also willing to give her this much face in such matters. Meanwhile, at the very top of the enforcement hall, within a solemn and awe-inspiring hall, Yun Wanshang was holding a jade scroll, examining various affairs. Just then she felt a sudden sensation. With a flip of her hand, the lunar wind jade appeared. 9 colors of splendid light danced upon the jade pendant, indicating that the He Guang Tong Qin jade was right here in the enforcement hall. Yun Wanshang's brows knit slightly in surprise. She wondered to herself why Lu Changxing would come to the enforcement hall. Under normal circumstances, outsiders, barring disciples and prisoners, were not allowed near the enforcement hall. Could it be that he had lost the jade pendant? Extending her divine sense, she immediately saw 2 enforcement disciples escorting a young man who wore a green robe and had a handsome face, a tall stature, and an extraordinary demeanor, enter the enforcement hall. Although Lu Changxing looked considerably different in appearance and temperament, having only met him twice, she recognized him at a glance. Has he committed an offense and been brought here by the enforcement team? Yun Wanshang's brows furrowed slightly, and a hint of coldness appeared in her eyes. The enforcement hall had authority over the Qingyun sect's punishments and rules. It was specifically tasked with punishing traitors, those who violated sect rules, and handling heretic cultivators, robber cultivators, and demonic path cultivators. The fact that Lu Changxing had been brought to the enforcement hall meant he had committed an offense under the Qingyun's jurisdiction. But observing Lu Changxing's tidy appearance, not bound by spirit-locking chains. It didn't seem like he had been captured by enforcement disciples. Recalling the relationship between Lu Changxing and her own disciple Xiao Siye, Yun Wanshang took out a token, prepared to inquire and understand the situation. Inside the side hall of the enforcement hall, where the man in the dark robe was chatting over tea with Elder Meng, he saw the token at his waist. He immediately stood up and made a respectful gesture towards Elder Meng. "Elder Meng, the hall master summons me on an urgent matter. Please excuse me." "Rest assured, Elder, the enforcement hall will certainly verify the situation thoroughly." Yen Wuyun spoke with a polite smile. "Since Hall Master Yun has matters to attend to, it's fine for you to be busy first, Executor Yen." "I shall take my leave as well," said Elder Meng upon hearing this as she got up to leave. Just as she walked out of the side hall, Elder Meng saw Lu Changxing entering the grand hall. A thought flashed through her mind. Could it be that Kaiyun True Immortal needed Executor Yen for something related to this young man? No sooner had this thought emerged than Elder Meng shook her head and chuckled softly. She questioned why she would entertain such a notion. What sort of status did Kaiyun True Immortal have? How could she possibly know or take interest in Lu Changxing, a young member of a minor family? Even if he had quite the fortune and was acquainted with Kaiyun True Immortal's disciple Xiao Siye, and their relationship was significant, he still wouldn't catch Yun Wanshang's discerning eye. Kaiyun True Immortal seeking out Yen Wuyun was purely coincidental. Elder Meng left the enforcement hall, transforming into a divine rainbow as she departed. Your subordinate pays his respects to the hall master. Upon arriving at the top floor of the enforcement hall and seeing Yun Wanshang perusing the jade scroll, Yen Wuyun bowed deeply in reverence. Despite having seen his own hall master many times, every time he laid eyes on her, celestial and stunningly beautiful as if she were an exiled immortal beauty of incomparable elegance, he couldn't help but be amazed. He dared not look too long and quickly lowered his head, bowing deeply, for fear of profaning such a heavenly figure. What offense has Lu Changxing committed? Yun Wanshang did not look at Yen Wuyun standing before her but kept her gaze fixed on the jade scroll in her hands. Her voice was cool, mixed with the noble authority of a superior. Lu Changxing? Yen Wuyun was momentarily stunned upon hearing this. He did not immediately recognize who Lu Changxing was. But the next moment he remembered the matter Elder Meng had raised recently, claiming that a clan cultivator named Lu Changxing had forcibly seized someone else's spiritual land. As a great steward of the enforcement hall, he naturally knew whether Lu Changxing's behavior was against the rules or not. But as Elder Meng had come to visit, he would naturally afford her a certain degree of consideration. It never occurred to him that such a trivial matter would alarm his own hall master, and he was instantly filled with dread. Yen Wuyun swallowed nervously, carefully inquiring, "Is the Lu Changxing that the hall master mentioned the same one reported by Elder Meng just now?" "Elder Meng?" Yun Wanshang's brows raised, and as her lips parted to speak, her voice was clear and cold. "The cultivator that was just brought into the enforcement hall." Upon hearing this, Yen Wuyun felt extremely alarmed. He had not expected that his hall master would actually pay attention to such a minor figure like Lu Changxing. He didn't dare to think further and quickly bowed, to report to the hall master. Elder Meng just arrived to accuse him, stating that this person? You haven't verified the matter and already brought the person to the enforcement hall? Since when did our enforcement hall's affairs start being dictated by a mere record-keeping elder? She tells you to take someone and you just do it? Yun Wanshang's stunning face showed an indescribable coldness, her voice harsh and commanding. As a peak master and the enforcement hall master, she certainly was not a naive fool. After listening to Yen Wuyun's words, she instantly understood the situation. Most definitely Lu Changxing had somehow offended Elder Meng. Chapter 617. Yun Wanshang, are you a breeding pig? Otherwise, why would a dignified false core immortal bother to report a Foundation establishment cultivator? And facing Lady Meng's accusation, Yen Wuyun, confronted with such a trivial matter, naturally would give face to her. As the master of the enforcement hall, she probably knew about these kinds of things and would turn a blind eye to them. But now she had actually been accused of graft and corruption. "Master, it was a momentary oversight on my part. I will go verify and investigate immediately." Upon hearing these ice-cold and dignified words, Yen Wuyun immediately thumped to his knees and spoke out loud. At this moment he was almost certain that his hall master knew Lu Changxing. Otherwise, why would his hall master pay attention to such a small matter, such an insignificant person? He couldn't help but curse Lady Meng in his heart, she was truly a troublemaker. Lu Changxing was acquainted with his own hall master, and yet you come to the enforcement hall to report against him, prompting me to commit injustice. Isn't this seeking death? Give me 15 minutes to verify the whole cause and consequences of the incident. Yun Wansheng's voice was cold and stern. The Qingyun sect, as a formidable immortal sect, had its own intelligence network. Events occurring under Qingyun's jurisdiction were all recorded. With an incident like Lu Changsheng's, one only needed to pull up the information to know at a glance. Yes, master, I will go verify it now. Yan Weiyun, hearing this, hurriedly agreed and rose to deal with the matter. However, thinking of Lu Changxing, who had just been brought into the enforcement hall, his heart skipped a beat. The enforcement hall controlled the sect's laws and punishments, holding the power of life and death, and it was very normal for them to employ certain tactics. Immediately he hurried to the main hall and upon seeing Lu Changxing brought in by Chu Tiange and another, quickly stepped forward and said, "You are Lu Changxing, correct?" "Great steward. Great steward." Chu Tiange and his companion immediately bowed their hands to Yan Weiyun as a gesture of respect. "I am indeed Lu Changxing. The possession of the spiritual land is legitimate, with the property contract of Bai Lake Mountain as my proof, and there is no such thing as robbery or occupation. May I ask the great steward who has accused me of violent seizure?" Lu Changxing looked at Yan Weiyun in front of him and spoke in a deep voice. On his way over, he had inquired about the situation from Chu Tiange and his companion, who both said that he would find out once he arrived at the enforcement hall. This made him realize that it wasn't just a simple report from the Yu family's offspring. The Yu family had several members in Qingyun sect, but they were all in the Qi refinement realm. How could such disciples' accusations result in such an effect? I was just about to retrieve the information and verify the situation. Lu Daoist, please wait here for a moment. You can rest assured, we in the Qingyun sect handle matters with strictness, and there will absolutely be no corruption. We will not wrong anyone. Yan Weiyun spoke, saying so. Speculating that his hall master had a connection to Lu Changxing, how dare he handle this matter? Naturally, he would gather the intelligence information and wait for his hall master to deal with it. As for Lu Changxing, he did not dare to treat him negligently, fearing that it might be easy to invite trouble but hard to send it away. Lu Changxing looked at the polite manner of Yan Weiyun before him and was slightly stunned. Chu Tiange and his companion had just shown quite an overbearing attitude, but why was this great steward of the enforcement hall so courteous? Perhaps this was the so-called, "It is easy to meet the king of hell, but hard to deal with his underlings." Lu Changxing felt something was amiss. Lu Daoist, please enjoy the tea. I shall return shortly, Yan Weiyun said as he cordially offered tea to Lu Changxing, then immediately turned into a streak of light and headed for the net tower to retrieve the intelligence information. This? Chu Tiange and his companion, witnessing this scene, looked at each other in confusion, not understanding what was going on. Their great steward's character, which others might not know, was crystal clear to them. He was known to be a smiling tiger. One moment he was instructing them to apprehend someone. Now he was being so courteous to Lu Changxing. There was definitely something wrong. However, given the circumstances, the two naturally would not say much and instead stayed quiet and waited on the side. After a quarter of an hour, Yan Weiyun retrieved all information related to Lu Changxing and Bai Lake Mountain from the net tower. So it turns out that Lu Changxing and Fairy Shiyu are close friends, Yan Weiyun said to himself after a quick review, gaining an understanding of the situation and letting out a sigh. In his heart, he roughly understood why Yun Wanshang had taken interest in Lu Changxing. After all, his hall master was famously protective of her own people. Since Lu Changxing was a good friend of Xiao Xie, Yun Wanshang naturally would not stand by and let him face this predicament. He returned to the top floor of the enforcement hall and bowed to Yun Wanshang, saying, "Master, I have ascertained the whole cause and consequences of the incident. Speak." Yun Wanshang didn't look up but commanded in a voice still cold and stern, making Yan Weiyun tremble inside. This incident originated from the Yu family of Bai Lake Mountain. Yan Weiyun began to explain the situation. With his mastery of talisman formation, he killed 3 foundation establishment cultivators, forcing the Yu family of Bai Lake Mountain to compensate with their family land. Hearing this news, Yun Wanshang's eyes slightly narrowed. In her view, foundation establishment cultivators from the loose cultivators and families outside were mostly worth nothing. Still, the fact that Lu Changxing alone could subdue 3 of them was indeed not simple. But when she heard the story continue, with his wife trying to break through to foundation establishment, and something about an array master consort, Yun Wansheng's brows furrowed slightly. Though she had cut ties with Lu Changxing in her heart, hearing such matters still bothered her. She wondered if all he had in his mind was wives, consorts, and having children. Because of Xiao Xie, she had descended the mountain on one occasion and seen Lu Changxing, learning a bit about his situation. She knew he had many wives and children. Now hearing about him again, it was still about wives and consorts. Chapter 618. Yun Wanshang, are you a breeding pig? Could it be that one cannot live without women? Do you have detailed information about Lu Changxing? Yun Wanshang's red lips lightly pursed as she asked. She did want to see just how many women Lu Changxing was involved with. Hall Master, as for information related to Lu Changxing, your subordinate has already obtained it. Yen Wuyun immediately produced a jade slip. Yun Wanshang's delicate hand lifted slightly, and her divine sense read the information from the jade slip. Lu Changxing, son-in-law of the Lu family of Qingzhou Mountain, Foundation Establishment Cultivator, 2nd Grade Talisman Master. He has a total of 7 wives, 1 Dao companion, 13 concubines, and 153 children. Yun Wanshang looked at the message about Lu Changxing, a cold frost appearing on her face. She knew that Lu Changxing must have quite a few wives and children. So she wanted to take a look at the detailed information to see the specific situation of the other party. But she didn't expect the other party's situation to be so outrageous. 7 wives, 1 Dao companion, 13 concubines, and 153 children. The number of wives and concubines was one thing. But the number of children made her want to curse. Are you a breeding pig or what? If it hadn't been for the fact that this was information from the Qingyun sect and couldn't be wrong, she would have suspected a mistake in the record. Under these circumstances, he still managed to break through to Foundation establishment? Yun Wanshang was somewhat dumbfounded. The intelligence information did say that Lu Changxing had broken through Foundation establishment a year ago. But she knew that 8 years ago, Lu Changxing and her own disciple Xiao Xie had broken through to Foundation establishment together at Qingyun Market. With such spiritual root talent, indulging in lust every day, and not only breaking through Foundation establishment but also doing so quickly? Yun Wanshang was very confused and couldn't figure it out. If it were the demon path or heretical path, she might barely understand. But she still remembered that when she initially investigated Lu Changxing, his cultivation of both magical arts and physical body was robust and impressive, clearly not some despicable heretical cultivation method. Damn it. Yun Wanshang thought about the fact that she had had a one-night affair with such a man who had taken away her spirit-nurturing energy. And her disciple Xiao Xie had unclear ties with Lu Changxing, which made her feel annoyed and upset. Her hand holding the jade slip even trembled a bit with anger. She wished she could just slay Lu Changxing with one sword. To have him thrown into the heavenly punishment platform to suffer the torture of 1,000 punishments. Why would Lady Meng report this Lu Changxing? Yun Wanshang pondered in her heart and couldn't help but think of something. 8 years ago, the grandson of Lady Meng, core disciple Meng Yibai of Qingyun sect, was killed. Initially, the enforcement hall had sent someone to investigate, but it came to nothing in the end. As the enforcement hall master, she had learned that this matter might be related to her disciple Xiao Xie. At that time, she had also questioned Xiao Xie, but Xiao Xie had claimed she knew nothing about it. Now knowing Lu Changxing's combat capabilities, and with Lady Meng striking at him and the fact that Lu Changxing and Xiao Xie had jointly reached Foundation establishment in Qingyun Market, a conjecture suddenly arose in her mind. If that's the case, then it all makes sense. But this scoundrel had only just broken through Foundation establishment at that time. How could he possibly be Meng Yubai's opponent, let alone kill him? Yun Wanshang's beautiful eyebrows knit together slightly. Meng Yibai was not only a core disciple of the Qingyun sect but also had the potential to contest for a position as a true disciple. For such a person to die at the hands of a clan cultivator who had just broken through Foundation establishment made it hard for her to understand. The only explanation was that Lu Changxing possessed extraordinary opportunities, secrets, or perhaps the backing of a peerless expert. If it weren't for the matter with Shiyu, he would indeed be a fine choice. At this moment, a thought crossed Yun Wanshang's mind. Initially, she believed that it was highly unlikely for Lu Changxing even to reach Foundation establishment. But by now the other party had grown so much in just 17 years. In the future he might have the potential for core formation, even reaching true elixir. With the aid of her own spirit-nurturing energy, the two of them might even ascend to golden core together with a chance for nascent soul. But the next moment, thinking of Lu Changxing's breeding pig behavior, Yun Wanshang immediately dismissed this idea. If she really became Dao companions with him, wouldn't she be pestered to have several children? What am I even thinking about? I couldn't possibly have any ties with such a man. Yun Wanshang took a long breath and discarded the wild thoughts from her mind. Yan Wuyun standing beside her watched as his hall master's face shifted between shades of dark and light, exuding an invisible and breathtaking majesty that made him shiver. You will take responsibility for this on your own, go to Xianyin Cave and reflect in solitude for 3 years. Lady Meng, as an elder of the sect, yet indulging in favoritism and breaking the law knowingly, will be cast into the Xianyin Cave for 10 years to reflect in solitude. As for Lu Changxing, Yun Wanshang spoke of Lu Changxing, her brows faintly furrowed, contemplating how to deal with him. Although she was quite unhappy with Lu Changxing's behavior and felt stifled, he indeed hadn't offended her in any significant way. He had not only saved her but also helped her disciple, Xiao Siye, overcome her emotional tribulation and complete her Dao foundation. Under such circumstances, if there was no clear wrongdoing on his part, it would seem inappropriate to punish him just because she was displeased with him. Moreover, if the punishment was too light, it would appear trifling. If too harsh, it would be excessive. Later on, if Xiao Xia found out, she would probably come to plead on his behalf, which would be hard to explain. Since Lu Changxing hasn't violated any rules, just proceed with the usual practices following the regulations. Yun Wanshang mused for a moment and then instructed. Your subordinate complies. Yan Wuyun replied with a bitter face. He hadn't expected to be sent to the Xianyin Cave for solitary reflection over such a trivial matter. The Xianyin Cave is one of the Qingyun sect's 10 major punishments. Every day one must endure the soul-chilling agony of bone-grazing, soul-refining cold winds within the cave, a true torment. But now, as Yun Wanshang the enforcement hall master had given the order, what she said was absolute, and he naturally couldn't say much about it. After all, false core elder Lady Meng herself had been sent to the Xianyin Cave for 10 years. Yet in his heart, he still couldn't comprehend what exactly was the relationship between his hall master and this Lu Changxing. Surely just being Xiao Xia's close friend shouldn't warrant such concern and care, right? Chapter 619. Yun Wanshang, could he possibly possess a peerless Taoist body? Underscore 1, Lu Daoist, we have verified your situation at the enforcement hall and there are no issues, it's all according to the rules, therefore sorry for the trouble but please come with us. Regarding the establishment of your family and the registration for the record, I will inform the record hall and have it processed for you as soon as possible. Yan Wuyun arrived at the enforcement hall and spoke to Lu Changxing. Being penalized to reflect in silence for 3 years at Xianyin Cave, his face bore traces of suffering, his previous smile no longer present. Just like that? Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing's eyebrows rose slightly, somewhat surprised. The attitude of Yan Wuyun just now had felt strange and unsettling to him. Now, with this back and forth, there was no way he believed that there weren't any issues in between. Great Steward, I have heard that someone reported me for forcefully taking over another family's spiritual land. May I ask who made the report? Lu Changxing asked aloud. Upon hearing this, Yan Wuyun's expression stiffened. It wasn't good to say that it was an elder from his own sect who had engaged in favoritism and fraud. Moreover, he had been involved as well. His mouth twitched slightly as he said, Lu Daoist, such matters are confidential and are not disclosed to the public. However, our Qingyun sect will punish those who make such baseless reports without verification. Please rest assured, Lu Daoist. Yan Wuyun spoke, his voice laced with a bitterness. All right, thanks for the hard work, Great Steward. Hearing this and observing the other's complexion, Lu Changxing did not press on with more questions. He roughly guessed that someone within the Qingyun sect must have reported him. But something must have happened during the process. Adopting the idea that less is more, Lu Changxing didn't want to dwell on it and planned to ask Xiao Xia about it afterward. Chu Tiange, Zhang Tiyun, please escort Lu Daoist to the welcome pavilion to rest. Seeing that Lu Changxing did not take advantage of his connections to cause a ruckus, Yan Wuyun let out a sigh of relief. He was afraid that Lu Changxing might become an unwanted guest who was easy to invite but hard to send away. Right away, he instructed Chu Tiange and the others to escort Lu Changxing away. Lu Daoist, please. Chu Tiange and the others, who had previously displayed an air of arrogance, now had an attitude distinctly different when facing Lu Changxing. They were also pondering in their hearts, just who exactly was this Lu Changxing? To be treated with such courtesy by their own Great Steward. Thinking of Yen Huayan's frequent activities up and down the enforcement hall, a sudden realization struck them, and speculation arose in their minds like a tumultuous sea. Unbelievable. "Thank you, I appreciate your efforts," Lu Changxing said, politely nodding his head to the two and leaving the enforcement hall with them. Even though they had not been very pleasant just now, they were, after all, law enforcement officers. From such people, what else could one expect but their attitude? Meanwhile, at the highest point of the enforcement hall, Yun Wanshang was dressed in regal courtly attire, exuding grace and dignity, looking down from on high at Lu Changxing leaving the enforcement hall with Chu Tiange and the others. Swoosh! An ordinary-looking eyeball appeared. Break false illusions. Yun Wanshang formed seals with her hands, causing the eyeball to glow as ripples flowed from it, shining with a golden brilliance, casting Lu Changxing's figure in its light. This. Through the golden eyeball, after seeing through the disguising effects of Lu Changxing and the dust-concealing jade, Yun Wanshang's stunning face revealed a shock. She had been thinking over and over and felt there must be something off with Lu Changxing. It was hard to believe that someone with an 8th-grade spiritual root could achieve so much in a few years. Therefore, she wanted to use the break illusion golden pupil to inspect Lu Changxing's condition, to verify whether he had cultivated the ways of the demon path or the heretical path. If he truly had cultivated such paths and engaged in the act of stealing life force to replenish his own, then she would be merciless. But upon looking, she was stunned. Through the break illusion golden pupil, she saw that Lu Changxing's body was like a flowing treasure, his vitality robust. His mana was upright and formidable, revealing an aura of incisive dominance. How is this possible? Magical dual cultivation, both reaching the foundation establishment. And his cultivation foundation is robust. The aura of mana is at the middle stage of foundation establishment. Yun Wanshang was taken aback at Lu Changxing's condition. 8 years ago, Lu Changxing broke through to foundation establishment. 8 years later, he had progressed from the initial stage to the middle stage? And it was magical dual cultivation. If Lu Changxing was a heavenly spiritual root or earth spirit root, she could understand. But she clearly remembered that Lu Changxing was an 8th-grade spiritual root. Could he possibly possess a top-level spiritual body, or even a legendary Taoist body? Yun Wanshang's heart immediately filled with speculation. Aside from a top-level spiritual body or the legendary Taoist body, she could think of no other way a lower-grade spiritual root could cultivate at such a pace, especially since he was also deeply indulged in the pleasures of men and women. Though he might have come across some opportunity, what kind of opportunity could allow someone with an 8th-grade spiritual root to grow so much in just a few years? Wait, middle stage of foundation establishment? At that moment, Yun Wanshang's eyes narrowed as she suddenly remembered something. Her senior disciple, Chu Qingyi, had once gone out on a mission to investigate events involving the demon path. During that time, she was pursued by the Xiaohou family and was poisoned with corpse toxin. She was saved by a loose cultivator named Han Li. As her master, Yun Wanshang naturally knew about this incident. She had even learned some information about this loose cultivator named Han Li, knowing that he was at the middle stage of foundation establishment, and a friend of her disciple Xiao Xia. Now, seeing Lu Changxing's middle stage of foundation establishment and recalling the upright and dominating aura of his mana, she suspected that this loose cultivator named Han Li was likely Lu Changxing. Lu Changxing left for foundation establishment, away for a year and a half. That period coincides with the time when Qingyi had that incident, so it's very likely that Lu Changxing's trip was in the guise of the loose cultivator Han Li, traveling aboard the Qingyun sect's spiritual vessel to Jiuxiao Immortal City. Yun Wanshang murmured to herself, almost certain that this loose cultivator Han Li was Lu Changxing. Chapter 620, Yun Wanshang, could he possibly possess a peerless Taoist body? At this moment she was utterly dazed. She had not expected that Lu Changxing not only had a connection with her but also had a bond with her disciple Xiao Xia. And he even owed a life-saving grace to her senior disciple Chu Qingyi. What kind of karma have I created? Yun Wanshang's mind roiled with emotions that were hard to articulate. She had once been afflicted with red phoenix karma fire, and it was because of Lu Changxing that the curse was lifted, saving her life. Her junior disciple Xiao Xia, practicing the supreme forgetful love technique, passed the trial of emotional entanglement thanks to Lu Changxing, completing her Dao foundation. Her senior disciple Chu Qingyi, it turned out, was also rescued by Lu Changxing when facing a life-threatening peril during a mission. No, I must keep Qingyi away from this man. No, she must not have any contact with this scoundrel at all. Yun Wansheng's beautiful eyes showed a firm determination. Chu Qingyi was raised by her from a young age, with sword heart clarity, devoting her heart solely to the sword. Although sword heart allows her to see through people and events with clarity, she is very naive in some areas. She clearly remembered Chu Qingyi telling her that the sword chi of a loose cultivator named Han Li actually resonated a bit with her sword heart and the Qingyun sword technique. At the time she did not pay much attention to it. Feeling that someone with such a gift for the sword Dao could resonate with her disciple's sword heart, more interaction between the two would benefit Chu Qingyi. But now she immediately dismissed that thought. She was truly afraid that her disciple would get entangled with Lu Changxing, leading to emotional complications. If Chu Qingyi were to get involved with Lu Changxing again, she, as a master, would not know how to handle it. Ah, what is all this about? Yun Wansheng felt an inexplicable irritation in her heart. She thought about just killing Lu Changxing with one strike so she wouldn't have to worry about these things anymore. But such thoughts were just that, thoughts. Not considering her perplexing link with Lu Changxing. And now he had also saved her senior disciple's life. Although Qiyun True Immortal had given Lu Changxing a Qingyun order. But in her view, one Qingyun order was nowhere as precious as her disciple's life. Lu Changxing had just left the enforcement hall when he felt a faint, barely perceivable tremor. It was as if someone was observing him. Although he did not have a clear sensation for such matters, he always preferred to err on the side of caution. Certainly someone was observing me just now. Lu Changxing was convinced in his heart. His divine sense had already reached the late foundation establishment stage. Such a faint sensation could not possibly be mistaken. To have escaped my detection unless it is a nascent soul immortal. Nascent soul immortal, wait, could it be Chiyu's mentor? A pause in Lu Changxing's heart, and it seemed like a jolt of electricity crossed his mind, almost understanding what had just happened. The affair at the enforcement hall had felt very strange, not right to him. That great steward, his attitude towards Lu Changxing, was definitely problematic. But he could not figure out what was wrong. He neither sought help from Xiao Xia, nor had he shown the Qingyun order. Why would the other party's attitude change so drastically? But if it was related to Xiao Xia's mentor Qiyun True Immortal, then it all made sense. If Qiyun True Immortal just happened to be in the enforcement hall and recognized him, or rather as long as she knew him, the problem would naturally be solved. He knew that in the Qingyun sect, there are only 8 nascent soul immortals on the surface. Based on this number, one can see the status of nascent soul immortals in the Qingyun sect. A moment later. Lu Daoist, I was presumptuous just now, please don't take offense. Once your registration is completed, someone will notify you. Chu Tiange and his colleague escorted Lu Changxing to a small courtyard in a pavilion and told him to wait there at ease. Thank you both for your troubles. Hearing this, Lu Changxing thanked them with a cupped fist gesture. Thinking to himself about this Qingyun sect. They have places for receiving guests. Yet when he previously came to the Qingyun sect for registration, he was not even given a reception and was just asked to wait outside the gate. You're too polite, Lu Daoist. Chu Tiange's expression was no longer as icy as before. He returned the gesture and said. Having said this, he inquired Lu Changxing, did you perhaps offend Elder Meng? Offend Elder Meng? Lu Changxing was somewhat surprised when he heard this and questioned the meaning behind it. That would be Elder Meng, Lady Meng? Chu Tiange continued, thinking of his earlier speculation, he spoke out to hint and establish a friendly connection with Lu Changxing. Elder Meng, Lady Meng. Lu Changxing's brow slightly furrowed, having never heard this name before. But in the next moment something clicked in his mind. He remembered that he had once killed a Qingyun sect disciple named Meng Yibai. The latter had a false core elder in the sect. As so many years had passed, he had nearly forgotten about this matter. Now that he heard the surname Meng linked to an elder, it suddenly came back to him. He suspected that this Lady Meng could be Meng Yibai's elder. We still have duties, so we'll take our leave now. Seeing Lu Changxing's reaction, Chu Tiange immediately smiled and took his leave. Thank you both. Knowing that they were hinting to him that it was Lady Meng who had reported him, Lu Changxing expressed his gratitude. But he was still puzzled, how did Lady Meng come to suspect him? Why wait until now to make her move against him? Could it be that my recent actions have attracted Elder Meng's attention? Lu Changxing's eyes narrowed slightly as he pondered. Yet he did not see how his recent fight for Bai Lake Mountain had any connection to Meng Yibai's case. Never mind, I'll think about it later when I go back and ask Zi Xiao and Shiyu. After contemplating for a moment, Lu Changxing let out a sigh, deciding to analyze it later when he returned. Meanwhile, Chapter 621, Yun Wanshang, could he possibly possess a peerless Taoist body? Yan Weiyun, wearing a jade crown and clad in a black robe, his face stern, arrived at the record hall to find Lady Meng. Executor Yan, what brings you here? Seeing Yan Weiyun, Lady Meng thought he came to inform her that the matter involving Lu Changxing had been dealt with. She thought to herself that his efficiency was indeed commendable. Lady Meng, I've reported your collusion with me to the Hall Master. Therefore, the Hall Master has commanded. Record Hall Elder Lady Meng as a sect elder, you abused your power for personal gain, colluded secretly and framed others. You are to be confined in the Shenin cave for 10 years to reflect on your actions. Yan Weiyun stated in a loud, stern voice. What? Executor Yan, you can't just say whatever you like. Upon hearing this, Lady Meng's face darkened, and she rose to her feet abruptly. The several record hall disciples nearby were startled by the scene and exchanged glances. Recently, Lady Meng had reprimanded Lu Changxing for blatantly violating the rules and taking over someone else's spiritual land. And now the enforcement hall was seizing Lady Meng, accusing her of collusion. What in the world? The Qingyun sect disciples present in the record hall to handle their affairs were also dumbfounded by the scene, thinking the day's events were quite extraordinary. The decree of the hall master is here. Lady Meng, do you intend to resist enforcement? Yan Weiyun displayed an enforcement token and spoke coldly. Although he was only at the late stage of foundation establishment, he had the sect's rules to back him and naturally did not fear Lady Meng. He didn't believe that Lady Meng would dare to lay hands on him in the sect and resist the decree. The decree of the Hall Master, Qiyun True Immortal. Lady Meng's face turned ugly as she saw the enforcement token in Yan Weiyun's hand. She hadn't expected that Yun Wanshang would find out about her reporting Lu Changxing to the enforcement hall, and that she would order her to be imprisoned in the Shenin cave. She was over 200 years old and had roughly 30 to 40 years of life left. If she were to be locked up in the Shenin cave for 10 years, she would not only waste a decade. Given her current state of health, she feared she would lose several more years of her life. Lady Meng, will you not receive the order? Yan Weiyun called out sternly. Because of Lady Meng's wrongdoing, he too had been confined in the Shenin cave for 3 years, so he held a strong grudge against her and was no longer polite. If she truly dared to resist the decree, her crime would be escalated. She could be directly sentenced to 30 years in the Shenin cave. Lady Meng received the order. Lady Meng took a deep breath and responded. Although she didn't know why Yun Wanshang would take interest in this matter, now that Yan Weiyun was present as a witness and Yun Wanshang had taken note, she had no choice but to admit her guilt. Indeed, she had privately sought Yan Weiyun's help. Thus, it wasn't just being cast into the Shenin cave for 10 years by Yun Wanshang. Even if the punishment were harsher, she had no other recourse but to accept her fate. Although she was a false core immortal and an elder of the record hall, her status, strength and position were insignificant before Yun Wanshang, the peak master of Kaiyun Peak and the master of the enforcement hall. Perhaps the disparity in their status might not seem significant. But this gap was as wide as the difference between true elixir and false elixir, an insurmountable chasm. A nascent soul cultivator of the 9th grade, even if possessing a low-grade flawed core, merely lacked the mana, potential and foundation in comparison to a mid-grade true elixir, superior gold core. At least, they are recognized by their peers as nascent soul cultivators. But a false core is scarcely considered a true nascent soul immortal in the eyes of high-ranking practitioners. Are you, someone who relies on external objects to condense a false core and whose path forward is severed with only 300 years of lifespan, worthy of being compared with me? You're graced with the title of immortal or fellow Taoist as a courtesy. If one doesn't give you face, they address you as a junior. This was also why Lady Meng, although a false core immortal and outer gate elder of the Qingyun sect, was apprehensive of Xiao Xia. Because, besides being a core disciple of the Qingyun sect, Xiao Xia was also a disciple of Kaiyun True Immortal. Since that's the case, Lady Meng, please proceed, Yan Weiyun spoke upon seeing her acceptance. After gesturing for her to follow, Yan Weiyun spoke to a record hall disciple nearby, indicating that there was a matter concerning Lu Changxing that they needed to process promptly. Once finished, it was to be delivered to the guest reception pavilion. Lu Changxing? The record hall disciples were shocked upon hearing this. They knew that it was Lady Meng who had gone to report Lu Changxing before. Yet now, Lady Meng was being imprisoned in the Shenin cave, and Yan Wuyun was urging them to promptly handle Lu Changsheng's affairs. Who exactly was this Lu Changsheng? They wondered with a sense of confusion and disbelief. All right, Brother Yan, I will handle it as soon as possible, the record hall disciple responded immediately upon hearing this. MMH. With that, Yan Wuyun, having said his piece, took Lady Meng towards the Xianyin cave. Chapter 622. Friends Reunite, Demon Cultivator Attacks. 2-in-1 additional chapter for 3,000 votes in July. _1 Lu Daoist, your family establishment at Bai Lake Mountain has been recorded and registered. Here is your family token. In the guest reception pavilion, a record hall disciple handed over a token to Lu Changxing and spoke. Many thanks, Daoist. Lu Changxing took the token and glanced at it. Made of green gold, one side was engraved with the 3 characters Qingyun sect, while the other bore the 5 characters Bai Lake Mountain Lu family. Lu Daoist, since you have established a family under the governance of Qingyun, there are some matters that you need to understand and be aware of, the record hall disciple said courteously to Lu Changxing. Lu Changxing nodded and said, Please speak, Daoist. First of all, nobles must remember to offer the resources demanded annually by the Supreme Sect. Additionally, when the Supreme Sect issues a command, the subordinate families must comply unconditionally. Of course, our Qingyun sect generally will not have many affairs or commands, but even if there are any, rewards will be given afterwards. The record hall disciple explained the duties and benefits of a family under the sect's governance. In essence, an annual tribute was necessary, and one must obey the commands of the Supreme Sect. At the same time, should any trouble or disputes arise, one could seek the help of Qingyun sect. One could also exchange for celestial materials, elixirs and cultivation technique inheritances that are rarely circulated in the market through Qingyun sect. May I ask how much the annual tribute will be? Lu Changxing inquired. He had long been aware of the tribute that families under Qingyun's governance needed to offer to Qingyun sect. For families like Qingzhou Mountain, the annual tribute took up nearly 40% of the family's revenue. This was also the reason why families like those on Qingzhou Mountain were so poor. After offering up their annual income, what little spirit stones were left after covering the family's expenses were scant. The tribute resources are assessed based on your spiritual land and the family situation. Currently, the Bai Lake Mountain is to offer the same amount as before, which is 12,000 spirit stones, the disciple said. However, our Qingyun sect will assign certain tasks to the families under its governance, or occasionally seek to purchase celestial materials and treasures. Nobles can mitigate their tribute offering by engaging in these ways. Moreover, if a noble has descendants who join Qingyun sect and excel within the sect will also grant the family a reduction in the tribute offering, the disciple continued. Saying this, he took out a jade scroll for Lu Changxing to see. It listed the tribute offering situations for families under Qingyun sect's control. Then he found Bai Lake Mountain, indicating the annual tribute requirement of 12,000 spirit stones. Afterward, he showed Lu Changxing the tasks issued by Qingyun sect and the celestial materials and treasures they were purchasing, indicating Lu Changxing could learn more if he was interested. If a family disciple was in Qingyun sect, they could have the tasks published in the sect sent back to their family. Lu understands. Many thanks, Daoist, Lu Changxing nodded. Even though more than 10,000 spirit stones a year wasn't a small amount, it seemed manageable to him. Spending half a month either making talismans or alchemy, he could earn that sum of money. Lu Daoist, do you have any other questions? If there is nothing else, then Su will take his leave, the record hall disciple said courteously. If it were an ordinary person registering and establishing a family, he wouldn't have spoken so much or explained in such detail. But the incident at the record hall earlier had incited their curiosity about who this Lu Changxing was. It led to one of their elders being cast into the Xianyin cave. Therefore they were exceedingly polite to Lu Changxing. No further questions. Thank you for your troubles, Daoist, Lu Changxing responded while cupping his hands together. He had already been well informed about these affairs. It was just a review at this point. Very well, since that is the case, Su will take his leave. The record hall disciple, upon hearing this, didn't say more and left the room. Phew. Watching the other party depart, Lu Changxing looked at the token in his hand and let out a sigh of relief. With this token, the establishment of his family at Bai Lake Mountain was now confirmed. In time he could peacefully and securely develop and build up Bai Lake Mountain. Then he took out the communication talismans belonging to Han Lin and Zhao Qingqing to send them a message. He let them know that he was at Qingyun sect's guest reception pavilion. About half an hour later, a woman who appeared to be around 27 or 28 years of age, with an elegant and beautiful appearance, a slim and graceful figure, dressed in a pale green long dress, glided over on a vine and descended gracefully. Zhao Daoist, long time no see. Lu Changxing, seeing the person arriving, displayed a smile, greeted her with a salute and said with a smile, Lu Daoist. Zhao Qingqing looked at Lu Changxing before her, a hint of surprise showing on her face. The two had not seen each other since their 10-year appointment, which was almost 10 years ago. Back then Lu Changxing was already outstandingly elegant, like an orchid or a noble tree, giving off a refreshing feel. Now, a decade later, Lu Changxing's appearance had not changed much, but his temperament had become even more transcendent, much like an immortal who had been banished to the mundane world. And his whole persona exuded a sense of tranquility, detachment and confident ease, rendering those who saw him awestruck. Lu plans to establish a family, and has come to Qingyun's sect to handle some affairs. Thus, I thought to see Zhao Daoist and Han Daoist as well. Though interactions between them had been sparse, now that they had met again, Lu Changxing naturally didn't let the conversation lapse and took the initiative to chat. Establishing a family? Zhao Qingqing responded with some surprise upon hearing this. Although she was in Qingyun's sect, she rarely paid attention to outside information. She was unaware of Lu Changxing taking over by Lake Mountain and preparing to establish a family there. But hearing about it now, considering the number of Lu Changxing's children, she found it quite normal for him to start a family. Where will Lu Daoist's family be established? Zhao Qingqing asked out loud. She knew that establishing a family required a spiritual land to begin with. And since spiritual lands were precious and limited in availability, by Lake Mountain, Lu will hold the family establishment ceremony at by Lake Mountain in 2 months' time. Chapter 623, Friends Reunite, Demon Cultivator Attacks. 2-in-1, additional chapter for 3,000 votes in July. Zhao Daoist, if you're free by then you must come to the gathering. Lu Changxing invited Zhao Qingqing to sit down. Acting as a host, he took out spiritual tea and sweets from his storage bag. By Lake Mountain? Zhao Qingqing was taken aback upon hearing this. She had heard of the reputation of the Yu family of by Lake Mountain. She knew this family had several members who had achieved foundation establishment. But now, Lu Changxing mentioned establishing a family on by Lake Mountain, and she was filled with confusion. However, Zhao Qingqing didn't ask further and congratulated him with a smile. Congratulations to Lu Daoist for not only achieving foundation establishment and succeeding in the Great Tao, but also establishing a family. I will surely come to the gathering. Her voice was quite wistful. Among the original group of 6, apart from Xiao Xie, she had the best conditions. A 6th-grade spiritual root, a vague body, and even taken in as a disciple by the elder of the herb garden. But now she was still at the 9th-level energy refinement, with a dim chance for foundation establishment. While Lu Changxing had not only achieved foundation establishment but was also about to establish a family, outstripping her by who knows how many times. It's just a bit of luck, a fluke that I achieved foundation establishment, Lu Changxing said with a light laugh. So, the two of them began to chat leisurely. Zhao Qingqing didn't talk much, most of the time it was Lu Changxing speaking. But she would answer whenever asked, and when some interesting topics came up, she would speak a bit more. Knowing that Zhao Qingqing was an expert in spirit plants, proficient at cultivating all kinds of spiritual medicine, Lu Changxing deliberately brought up this topic. He mentioned that his new family needed to be established from scratch and many spiritual medicines had to be planted, asking if Zhao Qingqing had any suggestions. Facing this topic, Zhao Qingqing suddenly became interested. She inquired about Lu Changxing's needs, such as whether the spiritual medicine was for use or for sale, and what the cultivation environment was like. Although Lu Changxing wasn't a spirit plant cultivator himself, as a top-tier second-rank alchemist, he had considerable knowledge about spiritual medicine and immediately spoke of his requirements. Zhao Qingqing was surprised as she listened to Lu Changxing, not expecting him to know so much about spiritual medicine, and the conversation between the two became much more congenial. If Lu Daoist has such needs, I could arrange to obtain some spiritual medicine seeds and cultivation methods. After a while, Zhao Qingqing picked up her tea, took a light sip and spoke in a gentle voice. She was responsible for managing the outer sect's medicine garden on a daily basis. Thus, she could obtain many rare spiritual medicine seeds that were seldom seen on the market. In that case, it'll have to trouble Zhao Daoist. Hearing this, Lu Changxing didn't refuse and offered his thanks with a smile and a cupped hands salute. Based on his years of experience, he knew that in male-female interactions, occasionally letting the other party help with some face-saving small favors can help to strengthen relationships. And by adhering to the principle of mutual benefit, once there is a first time for reciprocation, there can be more such exchanges in the future. His family was just getting established with much to be done. If he could invite a top-level spirit plant cultivator like Zhao Qingqing to join the family, it would solve many problems. The two chatted for about an hour before Han Lin arrived in a hurry. He explained that he had been detained by his artifact refining, thus the delay. Hearing this, Lu Changxing naturally didn't mind and asked Han Lin to have a seat. He then talked about his plans to establish a family. He mentioned that if Han Lin was free, he could come to the ceremony with Zhao Qingqing. I had guessed that Changxing Daoist would establish a family in the future, but I didn't expect it to come this quickly. I will definitely attend then, Han Lin remarked with some emotion. He had a very good relationship with Lu Changxing in the past, always calling him Brother Changxing. But while one was in the immortal sects and the other in the cultivation world, they hadn't seen each other for many years, and there was inevitably some estrangement. Moreover, both were in their 30s, over 40 years old, having experienced much, no longer as naive as before. Good, while also invite Hongyi Shiyu, Daoist, and everyone can gather together, Lu Changxing said with a smiling nod. He then inquired about the two's recent circumstances and their lives in the Qingyun sect. Although he had learned about their general situation from Hongyi, now that they were together, it was the right time to talk about these matters. I am currently at the 9th level energy refinement, far behind Lu Daoist, with little hope for foundation establishment. Zhao Qingqing spoke with a sense of resignation. She was just a 6th grade spiritual root, and without a foundation establishment elixir, her chances of achieving foundation establishment were less than 20%. Moreover, she was acutely aware that she was not someone with a particularly strong Tao heart, lacking the drive to strive forward. Without going out for trials, tempering her Tao heart and obtaining opportunities, there was almost no hope for foundation establishment. But even though she knew this, she wouldn't be satisfied without giving it a try. Foundation establishment is such a distant thing, I'm not even thinking about it, Han Lin, with his weathered and unremarkable facial features, said with a cheerful laugh, appearing very optimistic. He expressed that just being able to step onto the path of cultivation was satisfaction enough. He planned to take on an assignment from the sect and head to the marketplace in a few years. With his skills as a high-grade artifact refiner, he could live quite comfortably. I used to think like Han Daoist, never considering foundation establishment, but life is unpredictable, and who knows when fortune might arrive, Lu Changxing chimed in. I hope that Changxing Daoist's auspicious words come true, Han Lin responded with a cupped hands salute. The three chatted sporadically. In the midst of their conversation, Lu Changxing thought of Lady Meng's affairs and asked about some internal matters of the Qingyun sect, such as the situation with the enforcement hall and the record hall. Kaiyun True Immortal is the enforcement hall master? At this moment, Lu Changxing heard a piece of news that surprised him. Yes, the master of Shiyu Daoist, Kaiyun True Immortal, is indeed the enforcement hall master, Zhao Qingqing said with a tone that carried a mix of awe and admiration. As I thought, the previous investigations were from Shiyu's master, this Kaiyun True Immortal. Chapter 624. Friends Reunite, Demon Cultivator Attacks. 2-in-1 additional chapter for 3,000 votes in July, Lu Changxing pondered in his heart. After he left the enforcement hall earlier, he felt an elusive sensation of being watched and speculated it might be related to Xiao Xie's master. Now hearing this he was almost certain. It must be Lady Meng who, for some unknown reason, suspected him of killing Meng Yibai and thus reported him. But luckily Kaiyun True Immortal had just seen him and had rescued him from danger. It seems I should properly express my gratitude to Shiyu when the time comes, he thought. I also wonder if this Kaiyun True Immortal could discern my mid-foundation establishment cultivation level. Lu Changxing hesitated. Although he had a jade pendant gifted from a nascent soul immortal sister, able to mask the magic aura, Lu Changxing was unsure whether the pendant could block the divine sense of a nascent soul immortal. At this moment Lu Changxing missed his misty sky bead. If he had the misty sky bead, he would have no fear of a nascent soul immortal's scrutiny. As he thought of the misty sky bead, Lu Changxing's thoughts drifted to Nangong Meili, then to the child in Nangong Meili's womb. It's been a year and a half, Why hasn't Nangong Mili's child been born yet? He wondered. Lu Changxing pondered in his heart. He had great expectations for the child in the womb of Nangong Mili, the nascent soul immortal. But by his calculations, Nangong Mili had been pregnant for a year and 7 months now. Even if the child was extraordinarily gifted, it wouldn't take this long to be born, would it? After a long casual chat, the small gathering dispersed. Lu Changxing originally wanted to visit his nephew Xia Zhaoyang, however, considering the late hour and that he didn't have a sensing talisman for his nephew, he decided against it. He would have Xia Zhiyue write him a letter later. As he left Qingyun's sect, Lu Changxing did not delay. Controlling a purple flying shuttle, he turned into a streak of light and flew towards Bai Lake Mountain. Night had fallen deep. Outside Bai Lake Mountain. "My lord, this is one of the weak spots of our by water sky blue Great Formation," said Yu Ninghu with a pallid face and sunken eyes, to a man in black robes standing beside him. "It has only been a month since then. Lu Changxing and the others surely haven't altered the Great Formation or redeployed it." The man in black robes looked at the misty and hazy Great Formation before him, formed seals with his hands, and offered up a fist-sized black bead. Buzz. As the black bead's faint light swirled, streaks of black mist, like little snakes, surged towards the weak point of the formation before them. Since he dared to sneak into the family's territory clandestinely, he naturally possessed the means. This bead, named Banishing Pearl, was indeed a rare treasure. Against an ordinary first-grade Great Formation, it could break through silently and without a trace. Facing a second-rank Great Formation, as long as one found the weak point and spent some time, it was also possible to rip open a crack. This was also why he had managed to infiltrate Little Jing Mountain without detection, because the first-grade Great Formation of Little Jing Mountain was non-existent in front of his Banishing Pearl. Buzz, 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 as 9 black serpentine streaks from the Banishing Pearl surged on the Great Formation. Gnawing persistently, the formation trembled gently, and the swirling mist gradually dispersed, revealing the interior of Bai Lake Mountain. Inside Bai Lake Mountain, atop Bai Yun Peak in Changxing Hall, Ling Zixiao, with a graceful and pale face, suddenly opened her eyes. An array plate appeared in her hands. Seeing the array plate quivering gently and the needle rotating, Ling Zixiao immediately realized someone was tampering with the Bai Lake Mountain Great Formation. She stepped quickly out of Changxing Hall, looking in the direction indicated by the array plate's needle. She saw 2 figures in the dark night, doing something to the Bai Lake Mountain Great Formation. "Rise." Ling Zixiao immediately manipulated the array plate, fully activating the Bai Lake Mountain Great Formation. In an instant, whoosh, 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 the previously thin mist enveloping Bai Lake Mountain now churned rapidly, becoming dense with a powerful surge of spiritual power emanating outwards, turning the Great Formation a shade of azure blue under the night, with many colorful runes moving like fish in a sea, carrying a sense of danger. "It seems we'd been discovered, so be it, directly break the formation. As long as we create a crack, that will be enough for us to get in." Seeing the Great Formation engaging its full power, the man in black robes knew his secret infiltration had failed. He immediately formed seals with his hands and urged the Banishing Pearl with all his might. The previously faint light around the black bead now flooded it, transforming the snake-like black mist around it into a giant black serpent that struck fiercely at the weak point of the Great Formation. Yu Ninghu, witnessing this, also conjured a curved saber magic artifact and slashed it against the Great Formation. Boom, boom, boom. The entire Bai Lake Mountain Great Formation thundered, shattering the quiet of the night. What's that noise? What's happening? Why is the Great Formation operating at full force? Inside Bai Lake Mountain, those who were cultivating or sleeping were startled awake by the noise. Coming out of their rooms, they saw the fully engaged, azure blue by water sky blue Great Formation above and showed signs of confusion on their faces. They knew that the Great Formation would only operate at its full might in times of crisis. Now that the Great Formation had suddenly sprung into action and was emitting loud noises, it was clear that something was amiss. "Everyone, do not panic, stay in your homes, comfort the children, and do not walk around randomly." Ling Zixiao saw this scene, her graceful pale face showing a touch of solemnity as she spoke loudly with a spell to amplify her voice. She then took out a transmission talisman from her storage bag and sent a message to Lu Miaoge and Lu Changxing. Having just seized control of Bai Lake Mountain and demonstrated their power to outsiders, now someone dared to cause trouble on Bai Lake Mountain and break the formation. Without a doubt, the adversary meant harm and came prepared. And the method of breaking the formation made Ling Zixiao realize it was no simple affair. Chapter 625. Friends Reunite, Demon Cultivator Attacks. 2-in-1 additional chapter for 3,000 votes in July. _4 So she immediately used a transmission talisman, hoping Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge would hurry over to help. After all, only your own family knows your own affairs. Her body was weak and she retained merely a tenth of her mana. Previously, breaching the formation had also damaged her meridians and dantian, leaving her in an extremely weakened state. Although she had been treated with Lu Miaoge's Tai True Water. But such healing required a long-term treatment, not something that could take effect just once or twice. Boom, boom, boom. The weak points of the Bai Lake Mountain Great Formation were continuously being bombarded. The man in the black robe was obviously prepared, having even brought second-rank talisman to break the ban. The talisman struck down, sending out ripples that twisted the operation of the Great Formation. Rotate. Upon seeing this, Ling Zixiao soared into the sky, sat in meditation above Baiyun Peak, made hand seals, manipulated the array plate, took command of the Great Formation, and fortified the weak points being attacked with all her might. Miaoyun, you go pacify Lake Heart Island and keep a close watch on the foreign cultivators on the island. At this moment, Ling Zixiao's gaze shifted toward Lake Heart Island and then to a small courtyard, where she transmitted her voice to Lu Miaoyun. Lake Heart Island also housed some foreign cultivators left behind by the Yu family, as well as members of the Lu family from Qingzhou Mountain who came to help with affairs. Ling Zixiao normally wouldn't take notice of these Yu family affiliates, not believing they could pose any real threat. But at this moment she had to take precautions. Okay, Sister Ling. Upon hearing these words, Lu Miaoyun immediately responded. Facing this situation, although she was somewhat nervous and overwhelmed, she knew that her husband was not at home at the moment, so as the master of the house, she needed to stabilize the situation. She promptly controlled a flying sword and flew toward Lake Heart Island. Miaoyun, what's the situation? A Lu family elder, seeing Lu Miaoyun, immediately asked. I'm not sure either, but it seems someone is trying to infiltrate Bai Lake Mountain. Lu Miaoyun looked at the condition of the Great Formation and said, Isn't Changxing at home? Upon hearing this, the elder was suddenly startled and also became somewhat flustered. After all, those daring enough to launch a stealth attack on Bai Lake Mountain were usually well prepared. If Lu Changxing happened to be absent, Bai Lake Mountain would be in danger. Grandfather Tong, Uncle Fei with Sister Ling in charge, nothing will go wrong. Lu Miaoyun glanced at Ling Zixiao on top of Baiyun Peak, bit her lip and spoke. At the same time she transmitted her voice, Grandfather Tong, Uncle Fei, please stay calm on Lake Heart Island and watch over these external cultivators. Okay. Several Lu family elders heard her and also looked toward Ling Zixiao on top of Baiyun Peak. Although they could see that Ling Zixiao was not in good physical health. They had seen Ling Zixiao's grace in breaking formations before. Knowing that she was a Foundation Establishment great cultivator and a second-rank array master, they felt reassured with her in control under such circumstances. Merely two Foundation Establishment cultivators dare to attempt to break the formation, they must be well prepared. Which family's power is behind this? Ling Zixiao, meditating on Baiyun Peak and managing the Great Formation, observed the black-robed man and Yuninghu trying to breach the formation. Although she had seen Yuninghu before, she couldn't make out his identity now since he was disguising his appearance and aura, and his aura had greatly changed. My husband and Miaoge will probably not be able to return in a short time. In my current state, I might not be able to hold out until they arrive. Ling Zixiao looked at the two breaking the formation, and began to calculate in her mind. She knew her condition, it was manageable to maintain the operation of the Great Formation for a short period. If it took too long, her meridians and dantian would be under strain and unable to sustain. In that case, I must turn defense into offense. With a second-rank Great Formation to suppress the enemy, and combined with third-rank talismans, killing both of them would not be difficult. It's just uncertain what kind of methods these two have, Ling Zixiao pondered, a serious expression shining in her beautiful eyes. In her hands were 3 third-rank talismans and several second-rank talismans given by Lu Changxing. But in her current condition, having to control the Great Formation and activate the third-rank talisman would require her to make a killing blow. If she failed to kill both of them, it would become problematic. Let's first probe them. These two dare to attempt breaking the formation, they surely have come prepared. Not only have they found the weak points of the Great Formation at first notice, but they also possess treasures that can break bans. After thinking it over for a moment, Ling Zixiao decided to abandon such a risky plan. If her plan failed, everyone at Bai Lake Mountain would fall into danger. She would try to hold out with the Great Formation, hoping that Lu Changxing could come back in time. But seeing that her and Lu Changxing's yin and yang sensing talisman had no reaction, it indicated that Lu Changxing was still far away from Bai Lake Mountain and would not be able to rush back anytime soon. Break. 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 Outside the Great Formation, the man in the black robe continued to bombard the Great Formation with the ban-breaking pearl. Next to him, Yu Ninghu also wielded his magic artifact, bombarding the Great Formation. She's currently operating the Great Formation at full strength, reinforcing this weak point. You boy, take these 3 talismans and attack the other weak point. If she's severely injured, she won't be able to keep managing the Great Formation. The consumption will wear her down. At this moment, the man in the black robe also noted that Ling Zixiao had reinforced the weak point in front of her, and said aloud, "Yes, my lord." Yu Ning's face was dark and sullen as he nodded his head in agreement. As a Yu Family Foundation establishment cultivator, he naturally knew of the many weak points of his own Great Formation. On normal days they would arrange more people to patrol around these weak points. But right now Lu Changxing clearly didn't have this capability. Beyond assigning someone to guard the gate, there were no patrols in other places. Boom, boom, boom. Yu Ninghu, holding the talismans, turned into a streak of light, arriving at another weak point and began to bombard the Great Formation, intending to create a crack. How is this possible? They seem to know the weak points of the Bai Lake Mountain Great Formation like the back of their hand. Chapter 626. Friends Reunite, Demon Cultivator Attacks. 2-in-1 additional chapter for 3,000 votes in July. _5 Ling Zixiao watched the scene unfold, her beautiful pupils slightly constricted. Her gaze turned toward Yu Ninghu, shrouded in a black cloak, trying to discern who the person was. The weak points of the Great Formation are a secret power of every family, absolutely not to be leaked to outsiders, she thought. Apart from the Yu family, no one else could possibly be so familiar with the weak points of Bai Lake Mountain's Great Formation. And within the Yu family, only some core high-ranking members would know this secret. Could it really be Ninghu? But Ninghu has sworn a heart demon oath and signed a second-rank spiritual contract. Should he dare such an act, he would be invaded by the heart demon and suffer the backlash of the spiritual contract, his cultivation severely damaged, plummeting back to qi refinement. Ling Zixiao pondered in her heart, speculating whether this person could be Ninghu. Considering Ninghu's earlier heart demon oath and the second-rank high-quality spiritual contract he had signed, if the other party dared to break the agreement, the backlash from the spiritual contract would surely bring disaster. In the cultivation world, there are many methods, and neither heart demon oaths nor spiritual contracts are unsolvable. But the Yu family is merely a foundation establishment family. They absolutely do not have a way to circumvent a heart demon oath and a second-rank spiritual contract without paying a price. No, this can't go on like this, she muttered to herself. As time went by and the surging of mana inside her became increasingly burdensome, Ling Zixiao knew she could not continue this stalemate with the opponent. Otherwise, in the end, she was the one who would be at a disadvantage. Turn. Channeling her mana, she flicked her wrist over the array plate, instantly reinforcing the Great Formation, including the weak point where Ninghu was located. Afterward, from her pale lips devoid of color, she gently exhaled, "Rise." Huff huff huff, dash in an instant, the azure say-like Great Formation churned, with symbols akin to swimming fish converging to form little golden and blue spheres, shooting towards Ninghu. These golden and blue spheres looked unimpressive, but each was the equivalent of a full-force strike from an early-stage foundation establishment cultivator. Boom boom boom, dash. However, the moment Ninghu saw the surging spiritual power of the Great Formation, he immediately transformed into a streak of light and fled. As the former master of Bai Lake Mountain, he not only knew where the weak points of the Great Formation were, but he was also very clear about the power of the Great Formation's attack. Knowing he was merely at the initial stage of foundation establishment, he absolutely could not withstand the strikes of the Great Formation. It seems they not only know my lord is not on Bai Lake Mountain but also that I am injured. Ling Zixiao took a deep breath as she watched Ninghu's actions. She knew that the opponent had truly come prepared. They not only brought means to break the formation but also had a thorough understanding of her family's current situation. Otherwise, it wouldn't just be 2 people coming to break the formation, and they were clearly aiming to fight a war of attrition with her. The only option is to rely on a talisman to catch one off guard, she thought to herself, having made up her mind. She planned to catch the opponent off guard with a third-rank talisman. She refused to believe that the enemy also knew she had a third-rank talisman at her disposal. Even she was extremely surprised when Lu Changxing gave her the third-rank talisman. She wondered where her lord had obtained such a talisman. Array activate. Ling Zixiao manipulated the array plate, directly transitioning from defense to offense, allowing the great formation's mists to continue surging and tumbling. Countless prohibition runes converged, turning into numerous small golden blue orbs, launching precise strikes at Yu Ninghu and the man in the black robe. Swoosh! Yu Ninghu, who had been attacking the great formation from a distance using spells, immediately fled even farther upon witnessing this scene. Yet, the man in the black robe faced this onslaught undaunted, conjuring a bronze bell. Hum! The bronze bell resounded with a boom, bursting forth with an ancient bronze light shield that enveloped the man in black, directly withstanding the Bai Lake Mountain Great Formation's assault. Boom, boom, boom! The golden blue orb struck the bronze bell, causing a series of intense roaring explosions. Foundation establishment late stage. Ling Zixiao, upon observing the man in black robe's actions and seeing his spiritual artifact, the bronze bell, immediately knew that the opponent possessed the cultivation level of the foundation establishment late stage. Otherwise, it would be absolutely impossible to withstand so many strikes from the great formation so easily. Since you wish to break through the formation, I'll let you break it. Ling Zixiao's pale and elegant face took on a chilling hue. She sat cross-legged, her hands forming seals, while the array plate before her buzzed and vibrated. One could see, on Bai Lake Mountain, the Bai Lake Mountain Great Formation suddenly generated a multitude of ripples, with runes meandering across it, condensing into a dread-inducing five-colored long spear. At that moment, Ling Zixiao completely opened up the Great Formation's defenses, allowing the two attackers to strike and create fissures. Getting desperate, are we? Do you really believe you can annihilate us both? Utterly delusional. The man in the black robe saw this and his gloomy eyes flashed with a crimson gleam as he formed hand seals. Rumble, rumble! Suddenly, the prohibition-breaking pearl in front of him erupted with light to its utmost limit, like a flood dragon roaring as it collided with the great formation. Break for me! At that moment, the man in black produced a second-rank prohibition-breaking talisman in his hand. Rumble! In an instant, a massive crack appeared in the great formation. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh! The man in the black robe, catching sight of this crack, immediately turned into a black mist, tearing through the air like a tempest and rushing into the formation. Kill! Ling Zixiao, dressed in a blue robe, sat cross-legged with a clear and cold face, her beautiful Qiushui eyes gleaming brightly in the night. Whoosh! In that moment, the five-colored long spear, formed by the countless prohibition runes on the great formation, suddenly launched toward the man in the black robe. Hum! The bronze bell above the head of the man in the black robe boomed, soaring into the sky, bursting with a light shield to block the five-colored long spear. Rumble! But against the full power of the great formation, comparable to a full-strength strike from the peak of foundation establishment, the bronze bell let out a mournful cry as its light shield shattered and the artifact itself revealed a crack. You think you can slay me as if I wouldn't have made any preparations. Chapter 627. Friends Reunite, Demon Cultivator Attacks. 2-in-1 additional chapter for 3,000 votes in July. Under 6 the man in the black robe watched as the five-colored long spear charged toward him, sneered, and mana surged within his body, allowing the bronze bell to continue emitting light to block the long spear, while he slapped his storage bag. Bang! A black coffin appeared. Out came a zombie, its entire body dark as night, muscles bulging, eyes blood-red, and an overwhelming sense of gloom rolling off of it. Roar! The zombie let out a roar like a wild beast and charged directly towards Ling Zixiao. A second-rank dark zombie, this is bad. Ling Zixiao's complexion involuntarily changed. Her original intention was to suppress the man in the black robe with the great formation, then use a third-rank talisman to obliterate him. But now the enemy was directly confronting the great formation's onslaught, sending a second-rank zombie after her. This is a dark zombie. No good, this person is Xiahou Money. How could this be? Why would Xiahou Money set his sights on Bai Lake Mountain? On Bai Yun Peak, everyone on Lake Heart Island saw this scene and immediately guessed the identity of the man in the black robe, their faces filled with shock and panic. The fact that Xiahou clan at Blackwater Pool had been secret nurturers and refiners of zombies for the Heavenly Corpse sect from Jin Kingdom was widely known. Over the past 2 years, Xiahou money had been causing chaos throughout Qingyun region, slaughtering several smaller families. The appearance of a second-ranked dark zombie at the hands of the man in the black robe in this manner virtually confirmed his identity as Xiahou money. Husband said that in the face of danger, the golden armor bean mother can transform into a puppet. Lu Miaoyan thought of what Lu Changxing had told her before when she saw this unfold. However, she had planted the golden armor bean mother at Lingzue Cliff. Looking at the current situation, she gritted her teeth and immediately controlled her flying sword to fly toward Lingzue Cliff. It's indeed Xiahou money. Outside the Great Formation, Ning Hu, who was attacking the formation's weak points, saw the man in the black robe bring out the coffin and release the dark zombie. His dark complexion sank slightly. He had previously suspected that this man in the black robe was Xiahou money. Now that he saw the dark zombie, he felt almost certain of it. Since he has already fallen into the demon path, what difference is there between Xiahou money and the others from the demon path? Ning Hu's eyes darkened as he didn't give it too much thought and focused all his energy on bombarding the weakest point of the formation before him. Since the Great Formation had already given up on defense, all he needed to do was breach it and join forces with the man in the black robe. They would surely capture Ling Zixiao. Sister Ling. Atop by Yun Peak, Lu Miaohuan saw the dark zombie charging at Ling Zixiao and quickly retrieved a 2-meter-tall, ink-black metal puppet from her storage bag, wielding a saber in one hand, a shield in the other, and carrying 5 dark black spears on its back. Go! Lu Miaohuan, using the puppet control technique taught by Lu Changxing, controlled the second-rank puppet with her mental spirit to intercept the dark zombie. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The moment the second-rank puppet moved to engage the dark zombie, the 5 spears on its back shot out like thunder and lightning, simultaneously striking at the zombie with fierce dominance. Lu Miaohuan didn't have much combat experience, and her knowledge of the puppet was limited to what Lu Changxing had introduced and her subsequent curious fiddling. So faced with the dark zombie, she struck with all her might. Clang clang clang. Each of these spears, carrying the weight of a foundation establishment strike, pounded on the zombie's body, immediately causing a sound like the clashing of gold and iron. How can this be? Lu Miaohuan saw the second-rank puppet's all-out strike merely leave a series of gashes on the undead creature, failing to penetrate it. Roar! Facing this onslaught, the undead creature instantly flew into a rage, letting out a furious roar as dark energy billowed around its body, charging towards the second-rank puppet. Suddenly, the second-rank undead creature and the second-rank puppet began to fight. But it was clear to see that the second-rank puppet was no match for the undead creature. Each fierce strike from the undead creature left the second-rank puppet with a dent. Second-rank puppet, now is the time. Ling Zixiao, watching this scene, immediately activated the Great Formation to its fullest to suppress the man in the black robe. Subsequently, a purple talisman appeared in her hand and flew out towards the man in the black robe, intending to blast him to death with the talisman. Not good. Seeing this, the man in the black robe immediately guessed that Ling Zixiao must have some sort of contingency in place. He promptly formed hand signs, mana surging around him, and sacrificed a black bowl. At the same time, boom! Yuning Hu broke through the Great Formation, transforming into a streak of light that rushed in, wielding a curved saber and striking at Ling Zixiao. Damn it! Seeing Yuning Hu suddenly attack, Ling Zixiao's expression darkened slightly. She quickly manipulated the array plate, causing the formation to operate and exert a suppressing force on Yuning Hu as another talisman appeared in her hand. Second-rank Supreme Talisman, Thunderfire Truth Talisman. In her current state, she could at most use 1/3 rank talisman. Moreover, she could tell that Yuning Hu's strength was at the initial stage of foundation establishment. Such strength did not warrant the use of a 3rd-rank talisman. Boom boom boom. The talisman in Ling Zixiao's hand soared into the sky, turning into endless thunder and earth fire, sweeping towards Yuning Hu with an awe-inspiring might. Not good. Yuning Hu's body suddenly felt heavy as he saw the talisman's assault, his ashen face turning drastically pale. He hastily sacrificed several talismans, creating multiple barriers in an attempt to escape. But at this moment, the invisible force of the Great Formation suppressed him like a mountain, his legs sinking into a swamp, unable to move. Boom boom boom. Yuning Hu was suddenly engulfed by the endless thunder fire. Pooh! Ling Zixiao spat out a mouthful of fresh blood, her already pale face turning as white as paper at that moment. Operating the formation for such a long time had already placed a severe strain on her. Now, forcing the formation to its limit to suppress Yuning-Hu and activating the second-rank spirit talisman had caused her already fragile meridians and dantian to suffer damage. A splendid opportunity. Seeing Ling Zixiao spitting out blood, the man in the black robe immediately showed elation. Chapter 628, Friends Reunite, Demon Cultivator Attacks. 2-in-1 additional chapter for 3,000 votes in July. _7 As for the situation at Yuning-Hu Lake, he paid it no attention. After all, Yuning-Hu was merely a puppet he had turned into a corpse puppet. Even though it was a waste of a corpse seed, compared to the current Ling Zixiao and the opportunity of Lu Changxing, there was no comparison. Kill them all. The man in the black robe, while resisting the 5-colored long spear, slapped his storage bag and 3 coffins appeared, out of which 3 zombies emerged. However, these 3 zombies were not as powerful as the previous one, they were merely first-grade zombies. Boom boom boom. Meanwhile, the second-rank puppet controlled by Lu Miaohuan was battered into near deformation by the shadow corpse and sent flying backward. Roar. The shadow corpse let out a furious roar and continued to charge towards Ling Zixiao. No, if I use another second-rank talisman, I won't be able to use a third-rank talisman at all, Ling Zixiao thought as she faced the charging second-rank shadow corpse, her hand clutching a divine thunder talisman and her face grave. However, just then, swoosh. From atop Lingsue Peak, a streak of golden light shot towards this place. Bang! The golden light impacted the second-rank shadow corpse, sending it flying. A towering figure appeared, draped in golden armor, majestic and overwhelming, with a presence that could rival the bulls in combat. What is this? Ling Zixiao was taken aback upon seeing this scene. How could there be so many contingencies at home? Had she known about the second-rank puppet at home, and this unknown golden-armored person, she wouldn't have had to plan this way. What is this? The man in the black robe was also startled by this turn of events. His shadow corpse, which he had raised to the middle stage of second rank, was just sent flying by this golden-armored person. This Lu Changsheng's family must have plenty of contingencies. The opportunity he has secured is definitely not simple. It's a great opportunity. Moreover, this Ling Zixiao, she definitely still has talismans in her hand. There is no need for me to clash head-on. Better to return and report this to the elder. The man in the black robe watched the scene, thinking that Ling Zixiao had rushed towards him, certainly intending to use a supreme second-rank talisman against him. The situation at hand left him unsure of how many contingencies the other party still held. Right then, the man in the black robe decided to give up and used a restriction-breaking bead to blast at the Great Formation, preparing to leave. Thinking of leaving? Ling Zixiao, seeing this, would obviously not let the other party escape. Given her current condition, what if the other party decided to turn back and launch a surprise attack after escaping? Suppress. Ling Zixiao maneuvered the array plate, sealing the Great Formation to prevent the other party from escaping, pouring a continuous stream of liquid mana into the third-rank talisman in her hand. The purple talisman flew high into the sky, emitting a powerful humming sound and spiritual pressure. It then transformed into a heaven-piercing, earth-shattering 9 heavens divine thunder. A third-rank, lower-grade talisman, divine thunder talisman. This talisman's power was comparable to a strike from a nascent soul immortal. Boom. The purple thunder light unfurled, an endless sea of lightning illuminating the entire night sky as bright as day. This moment, by Lake Mountain became a world of thunder and lightning. The violent brilliance of the thunderstorm shimmered, turning into a sea of thunder, engulfing the man in the black robe. Subsequently, a proliferation of thunderstorms enveloped the area, making every inch of space full of terrifying brilliance. Boom boom boom. Even the might of the thunderlight was unyielding, blowing open a corner of the by Lake Mountain Great Formation where the man in the black robe was located. The entire land turned scorched black under the purple thunder, littered with pits and entrenched with the breath of thunder that destroys everything. This, what terrifying might. Could this be the legendary third-rank talisman? Everyone at Baiyun Peak and Lake Heart Island, witnessing the daytime bright heaven and earth destroying thunder, were too shocked to speak. Spit. Ling Zixiao spat out another mouthful of blood when she saw this, collapsing weakly. At this moment, her mana was nearly depleted, and her meridians and dantian throbbed with pain. The mana required for the third-rank talisman far exceeded her expectation, almost completely draining the mana from her body. Sister Ling. Lu Miaohuan, upon seeing this, swiftly maneuvered her flying sword, rushing out from Baiyun Peak to catch Ling Zixiao. She took out a bottle of elixir medicines from her storage bag, fed them to Ling Zixiao, and also used a healing talisman on her. Roar! The second-rank Shadow Corpse, witnessing this, roared furiously. Bang! The golden armor warrior once again unleashed a thunderous punch, sending the second-rank Shadow Corpse flying. The rest I leave to you, Ling Zixiao said with an exceptionally weak voice. Don't worry, Sister Zixiao, Lu Miaohuan replied with clenched teeth. Immediately she took out several talismans and attacked the 3 first-grade Shadow Corpses. In their hands, all of these people held several talismans given to them by Lu Changxing. At that moment, Lu Miaoyun also arrived from Lingzue Cliff, took out several talismans and bombarded the 3 first-grade Shadow Corpses. Soon after, the battle ended. The 3 first-grade Shadow Corpses were annihilated by the 2 women, and the second-rank Shadow Corpse was suppressed by the Golden Armor Warrior. Zhenjin, Jiue, Linger, Xianji, Yuner, Xiaoru, keep an eye on the surroundings, Lu Miaohuan said, taking a deep breath and addressing the other girls and children in her family. Now that Ling Zixiao was nearly unconscious, they all needed to stabilize the situation. Immediately, Lu Miaoyun commanded the Golden Armor Warrior to guard the breach in the Great Formation. The few other women and several children took talismans from the hands of Lu Miaoyun and Lu Miaohuan and took on a battle-ready stance. Time ticked away slowly. This night was one of sleepless vigil for Bai Lake Mountain. It's uncertain how much time had passed when, as the sky began to brighten with the light of dawn, a figure adorned in snow-white garments with a beautiful and serene face alighted outside Bai Lake Mountain. Sister Miaoga. Sister. Auntie. Seeing this figure, the people at Bai Lake Mountain immediately showed a look of joy. Meanwhile, Ling Zixiao and Lu Miaohuan's arms completely lost consciousness at this moment. Chapter 629, Xiahou Wuwa, How Surely Go Without Return. _1 Bai Lake Mountain. Yuner, what has happened? Lu Changxing, looking at the condition of his home and the effects caused by the Divine Thunder Talisman, had a somewhat grim expression on his face. On his way back, he received a message from Ling Zixiao, and he immediately realized that something must have happened to Bai Lake Mountain. However, he did not expect the battle to be so intense that the family's great formation had been breached. Husband, Lu Miaoyun immediately stepped forward and began to recount the events of the previous night to Lu Changxing. Xiahou Money, when Lu Changxing heard this, his eyes revealed a fierce glint. He had not expected that while he was away at the Qingyun sect, his home would suffer chaos at the hands of Xiahou Money. And according to Lu Miaoyun's description, Xiahou Money had clearly come prepared, having set his sights on their home long before. He had been waiting for Lu Changxing to leave Bai Lake Mountain before making a move. How is Zixiao doing? Upon hearing that Ling Zixiao was unconscious, Lu Changxing immediately asked about her condition. Sister Miaoga is treating Sister Ling right now. I'm not clear about the specifics, said Lu Miaoyun, pursing her lips lightly. After Lu Miaoga had arrived and Ling Zixiao had become unconscious, she, along with the Golden Armor Warriors and her children, had been defending the area the entire time to prevent any further incidents from occurring. Alright Yuner, you've worked hard. I'll go see how Zixiao is doing, said Lu Changxing. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing immediately turned into a burst of escape light, flying towards Baiyun Peak. When he arrived at Changxing Hall, Lu Changxing immediately saw Ling Zixiao's pale face as she lay on the white jade bed. Lu Miaoga was at her side, using Tai True water to treat and nourish her physical body. Sister Miaoga, how is Zixiao now? Lu Changxing approached and inquired. Changxing, you're back, said Lu Miaoga with a voice gentle as water. Sister Ling is out of danger now, but several of her meridians are too fragile and have ruptured. Her current condition is not good, continued Lu Miaoga, her voice gentle. Her own face seemed somewhat pale, clearly indicating that treating Ling Zixiao's condition had depleted much of her vitality. You've worked hard, Sister Miaoga, said Lu Changxing, looking at the 2 women, feeling a heaviness in his heart. He immediately took out a bottle of healing pills from his storage bag and passed it to Lu Miaoga. He then took Ling Zixiao's wrist to check her condition. He saw at once that Ling Zixiao's internal state was a mess. Fragile, withered meridians were ruptured, and her Dao foundation within the Dantian was dim and lackluster. He felt that if it weren't for Lu Miaoga's treatment, Ling Zixiao might have been in mortal danger. This added a few more heavy layers to Lu Changxing's heart, as well as his killing intent towards Xiahou Money. Sister Miaoga, go get some rest. Keep an eye on the outside. Leave this place to me, said Lu Changxing deeply inhaling, then addressing Lu Miaoga as he prepared to apply the yin-yang nirvana technique and life transference technique to treat Ling Zixiao. All right, Lu Miaoga replied softly, knowing that Lu Changxing was going to heal Ling Zixiao. Huff. Lu Changxing looked at Ling Zixiao's pale, bloodless face and exhaled a deep breath. He felt that this incident was indeed due to his own lack of thorough consideration. Although he had given Ling Zixiao and others like Lu Miaoyun and Lu Miaohuan some means of protection, those measures were only effective against common dangers and your average foundation establishment cultivators. He had not considered thoroughly enough, such as the potential consequences of his killing the 3 foundation establishment cultivators and the glory from taking by Lake Mountain, which could attract attention from ill-intentioned people like Xiahou Money. Since my breakthrough to foundation establishment, I've gained more and more abilities, gradually losing that initial cautious attitude, he reflected to himself. Now it's not just me but an entire family that I must consider in all matters, Lu Changxing quietly mused. Just like this trip to the Qingyun sect, I thought that the matter with Meng Yibai was over and didn't take it to heart. But had it not been for my teacher Shiyu, there could have been a lot of trouble, he continued his self-reflection. Lu Changxing became aware that he had lost the vigilant mindset he used to have when first starting out. Before, his wives, concubines and children were all on Qingzhou Mountain, with the Lu family there to help look out for them. But now, having left Qingzhou Mountain for Bai Lake Mountain, he had to consider everything more carefully. Without further thought, he began to undo Ling Zixiao's clothing and strip down. Looking at the curvaceous, jade-like body in front of him, Lu Changxing only felt sympathy with no trace of desire. He undressed himself and gently embraced Ling Zixiao, initiating the yin-yang nirvana technique as he entered her like a flood dragon diving into the sea, using his yang essence to heal her and nourish her meridians and dantian. A few days later. Under Lu Changxing's treatment, Ling Zixiao's eyelashes trembled, and a soft moan escaped her lips. "Zixiao, you're awake!" exclaimed Lu Changxing, his face lighting up with joy as he turned towards Ling Zixiao. "My lord." Ling Zixiao gently opened her beautiful eyes, looked at Lu Changxing and managed to summon a weak smile on her pale face. "Zixiao, don't talk yet, stabilize your breath," said Lu Changxing gently, speaking softly. He increased the effect of the life transference technique to stabilize Ling Zixiao's current state. The faint blush on Ling Zixiao's pallid face turned a delicate red as she hummed softly, weak and docile. Time passed gradually. It was hard to tell how much time went by, but eventually, Ling Zixiao's complexion was no longer deathly pale. "Zixiao, you've put in a hard effort this time," said Lu Changxing, holding the tender and fragrant body in his arms, his face showing remorse. If Ling Zixiao hadn't acted bravely, the consequences would have been unthinkable. "My lord," Ling Zixiao showed a gentle smile, snuggling into Lu Changxing's embrace. She could feel the concern and guilt in his eyes. In a weak voice she said, "My lord, you need not blame yourself. This matter is not your fault." In her view, Lu Changxing did indeed have some responsibility. The distribution of the treasures prepared by the family was too scattered, he wasn't aware of them, and thus he couldn't make the best arrangements. Nevertheless, Xiahou Money clearly came well prepared, and such circumstances were genuinely difficult to anticipate. Chapter 630, Xiahou Wuwa, I'll surely go without return. If I had been more cautious, this wouldn't have happened, Lu Changxing sighed lightly. "My lord," Xiahou Money evidently came prepared, Ling Zixiao said softly, gripping Lu Changxing's hand. It implied they had intimate knowledge of Lu Changxing's movements, his physical condition, and the weak points of the Bai Lake Mountain Great Formation. There was clearly a problem. It seems this matter is inextricably linked to the Yu family. Lu Changxing's face tensed as he spoke coldly. Though he had concerns about saving face and had spared the Yu family so far, should they truly be involved in such matters, he would no longer consider any face-saving measures. "I also suspect the Yu family's involvement, but Yuningu is a smart man. The entire Yu family relies on his support. He wouldn't rashly risk danger and cooperate with the demonic path. Moreover, he's bound by the Heart Demon's oath and a second-rank spiritual contract. There's also the possibility that he was coerced by Xiahou Money," Ling Zixiao murmured. In her view, Yuningu was unlikely to resort to such actions. But under the coercion of Xiahou Money, it was not so certain. After all, their own family's formation had been breached by Xiahou Money. The formation on Shaojing Mountain was merely first grade. If Xiahou Money wanted to move against Yuningu, it would be effortless. And for Xiahou Money to act against their family, using the Yu family and Yuningu to learn about their situation was all too normal. I will send a message to the Ji family later to check on the situation in Shaojing Mountain. Lu Changxing nodded and said. He had taken Shaojing Mountain as a vassal to keep an eye on the Yu family. If the Yu family is indeed related to this matter, my lord could leave it to Qingyun sect to handle, Ling Zixiao whispered. Very well, Lu Changxing nodded upon hearing this. He knew that if the collusion between the Yu family and Xiahou Money was confirmed, Qingyun sect would deal with the Yu family, and he wouldn't need to intervene. My lord, we also need to report the matter of Xiahou Money to Qingyun sect. Moreover, as far as I know, among the members of Xiahou Money, the old ancestor Xiahou Wuwa has been missing without a trace. Now that they have lost a foundation establishment late-stage cultivator in our family, they might seek revenge, Ling Zixiao continued. Xiahou Wuwa, Lu Changxing's eyes narrowed slightly upon hearing the name. He said coldly, if he dares to come, I want to see how he plans to seek revenge. Armed with the 99 mysterious true strategy and more than 10 third-rank talismans, if the enemy dared to come, he could ensure they would not return. As a demonic path cultivator, this person has evaded the Qingyun sect's pursuit for so long. He certainly has many tricks up his sleeve. You should still be careful, my lord. Even if you are not afraid, we have many children at home to consider in the face of such a threat, Ling Zixiao advised, seeing Lu Changxing's confidence and knowing he was unafraid of false core individuals. In the cultivation world, anyone who could break through the false core was not ordinary, especially someone like Xiahou Wuwa. Not only was he a false core immortal, but he had also taken many treasures of the Xiahou family during the battle at Blackwater Pool and surely had many methods at his disposal. At this stage, I intend for the children to stay home and focus on their cultivation until the clamor subsides. There's no need for them to go out. As for the external family businesses, just hand them over to others to manage, or engage in profit-sharing cooperation with other family powers, Lu Changxing said decisively. With the family currently in the spotlight, there was always the possibility that people would target his children. That also works, Ling Zixiao nodded gently upon hearing this. She knew that Lu Changxing was unlike other families. He didn't need to rely on numerous family businesses to make money. The current output of Bai Lake Mountain was sufficient to sustain all members of the Lu family. After chatting a bit more with Ling Zixiao, Lu Changxing suggested she rest well. Sigh. Exiting Changxing Hall, Lu Changxing looked at the vast expanse of Baishui Lake, took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. I need to plant the Mount Sumeru Tree King as soon as possible, he thought to himself. He had planned to deploy the Mount Sumeru Tree King after all arrangements for the family were in place. After all, with a third-ranked Demon King stationed at the family, their safety was assured. However, if the third-ranked Demon King's presence were revealed, it could also attract significant trouble and danger. So, his idea was to ensure thorough preparation. Sister Miaoga, Lu Changxing called out as he arrived at the mountain gate, addressing Lu Miaoga. This point of the formation had been weakened since the man in the black robe used a banishment pearl and a powerful third-rank talisman, effectively shattering it, causing the array flags buried there to malfunction. An array master was needed for repairs. Otherwise, a notable vulnerability would persist here in the Great Formation, making it easily breachable. Changxing, how is Sister Ling feeling? Lu Miaoga approached with a gentle smile, her voice soft. She has awakened, there's no serious harm, but her body can only recover slowly through care, Lu Changxing sighed. Ling Zixiao's health had marginally improved, but because of this incident her condition had worsened. After conversing with Lu Miaoga for a while, Lu Changxing went to inspect the items left behind by Xiahou Money. Under the effect of Ling Zixiao's talisman, both individuals were reduced to ashes. Only a second-rank Yin corpse, a few treasures and storage bags remained. Lu Changxing noticed the two storage bags with narrowed eyes. One bag contained many items including rare materials and several demonic path magical instruments. The other was quite empty. Aside from a few elixir medicines, some talismans and one spiritual artifact, there was nothing else. Lu Changxing inquired with Lu Miaoyun about whom the storage bags belonged to. Yu Family Foundation Establishment Early Stage. Chapter 631, Xiahou Wuwa, Hell Surely Go Without Return. This storage bag, obviously has a touch of afterlife arrangements. Could it be that this person is really Yuninghu? Lu Changxing looked at the storage bag in his hand and pondered lightly. Immediately, he took out a transmission talisman and sent a message to the Ji family, inquiring about the Yu family and the situation with Yuninghu. Afterward, he wrote a letter to Rui Prefecture, asking Hong Yi to check how many people from his family needed to come to Bai Lake Mountain, so he could arrange for someone to pick them up when the time came. Thinking of Ling Zixio's current situation, Lu Changxing wrote a letter to Xiao Siya. He asked Xiao Siya if it was possible to request an array master from Qingyun sect to come over and set up a great formation for Bai Lake Mountain. Originally he had planned to have Ling Zixiao do this. After all, a great formation set up by his own family would be reliable. But given Ling Zixio's current condition, setting up formations would be extremely taxing and harmful to his health. It would be better to first invite an array master from Qingyun sect to repair the formations. Once Ling Zixio's health was a bit better, they could reset the formations. After finishing the letters, he also wrote to Qingyun sect regarding the encounter with the demon path forces. Once these matters were handled, Lu Changxing began to take care of the situation at home. The next day, people from the Ji family of Shaojing Mountain arrived. They informed Lu Changxing that everything was normal during this period on Shaojing Mountain, and nothing had happened. Yuninghu was still on Shaojing Mountain, although he rarely showed himself. As for the other Yu family cultivators, because there were many of them, it was impossible for the Ji family to tally and see everyone. Everything is normal. Yuninghu is still on Shaojing Mountain? Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing's eyes narrowed slightly. He immediately slapped the storage bag, and a second-rank truth talisman appeared to test the truth of the conversation. Through this talisman, Lu Changxing confirmed that the other party was not lying. This made his brow furrow. Based on previous conjectures, he believed that the person who was with Xiaoho Money could very likely be Yuninghu. But now the Ji family told him that Yuninghu was still on Shaojing Mountain. No, this Yuninghu doesn't necessarily have to be Yuninghu. Lu Changxing paused mentally, developing a guess. In the cultivation world, disguises and impersonations are quite common. If the Yu family used a disguise, the Ji family might not be able to detect it. Sister Miaoga, keep an eye on things at home. I'm going to take a trip to Shaojing Mountain. If anything happens, transmit a message to me immediately. Lu Changxing immediately said to Lu Miaoga. If they continued to stay here once exposed, it would be a dead end. Lu Changxing watched all this, pondering to himself. Take these 3 spirit boats, we're escorting these people back to Bai Lake Mountain together. Lu Changxing, without overthinking, handed out 3 spirit boats to the Ji family, asking them to accompany him on a trip. The plan was to escort these people from the Yu family back to Bai Lake Mountain and wait for Qingyun sect to arrive for processing. Yes, Ancestor Lu. The Ji family members, upon hearing this, all nodded respectfully. Previously they had heard that this Ancestor Lu from Bai Lake Mountain had average strength, relying solely on talismans. But after witnessing Lu Changxing suppress the Yu family and others, they immediately realized that the rumors were false, and that this Ancestor Lu's strength was extraordinary. The spirit boat was much slower than the flying shuttle piloted by Lu Changxing. It took half an hour. The 4 spirit boats descended outside Bai Lake Mountain. Changxing, does the Yu family truly have ties to the Xiaoho devil? Lu Miaoga, upon seeing Lu Changxing escorting so many cultivators from the Yu family, immediately expressed her surprise. Even with early suspicions, she found it hard to believe that the Yu family could truly be connected with the Xiaoho devil. After all, in Jiang country, collusion with the demon path was essentially a death sentence. Yes, Yuninghu is no longer at Little Jing Mountain. Yuning Yuan and several core members of the Yu family are also not at Little Jing Mountain, Lu Changxing affirmed. Immediately after, Lu Changxing called over Lu Pinggan and Lu Xianji. He instructed them to work with the Ji family's cultivators to imprison all these Yu family cultivators. You all have had a tough job. This is your reward, he said after the work was done. Lu Changxing then took out 5 middle-grade spirit stones and a second-rank talisman to give to the patriarch of the Ji family. The Ji family had also put in quite some effort. As the family head, he naturally needed to show his appreciation, not letting their efforts go unrewarded. Thank you, Ancestor Lu. Thank you, Ancestor Lu. A few of the Ji family cultivators immediately expressed their thanks. Earning 500 spirit stones and a second-rank talisman in less than an hour was a very generous reward for them. After dealing with the Yu family situation, Lu Changxing waited at home for someone from Qingyun sect to arrive. He asked, "This arrangement, does it involve a false core immortal staying and protecting?" "Even in our Qingyun sect, the false core immortals are limited, so we can only try to arrange for Foundation establishment disciples." Wei Xing immediately shook his head as he spoke. False core immortal, even to Qingyun sect, represented a high-level combat force. Needed to staff important marketplaces or to oversee territories and handle affairs, it was impossible to bother them for the sake of a minor family. He had offered to apply for someone to stay and protect for Lu Changxing, solely because of Lu's relationship with their own hall master. Otherwise, for a normal family without a significant expenditure, such treatment would not be available. There happens to be a good friend of mine in Qingyun sect. I wonder if it would be possible to arrange for her? Lu Changxing asked calmly. If it were just an ordinary Foundation establishment cultivator, he naturally wouldn't want to invite one to stay with his family. But it occurred to him that if he could have Xiao Xie stay and protect his family, that would be ideal. Upon hearing this, Wei Xing's first instinct was to say it was not possible. Arranging for protection was already a considerable privilege, and now you want to choose the person? But upon hearing Lu Changxing mention a good friend, he immediately guessed it was Xiao Xie. Remembering Lu Changxing's inexplicable relationship with their hall master, he hesitated slightly and said, "I cannot decide on this matter, Lu Daoist. You can ask your friend to apply to the sect and try." "All right, I'll ask her when the time comes," Lu Changxing replied upon hearing this. "Good, Lu Daoist, if there are any updates regarding Xiaohou money, feel free to send us a message anytime. And if we have any related information, we will also send you a message. As for this incident, if it's confirmed that this person is Xiaohou Wuxiu, our Qingyun sect will also issue the bounty reward." Wei Xing nodded and said aloud. "Much obliged, Wei Daoist," Lu Changxing said, bowing with his hands clasped in thanks. After finalizing matters, Wei Xing and the other two took the Yu family and others and left. With this issue resolved, the Yu family's problem should also be largely settled. Even if there are Yu family cultivators hiding outside, they can only live under false names, Ling Zixiao said softly. Lu Changxing nodded in agreement. However, in his view, Yu family cultivators hiding outside were still a problem. After all, his family had so many children. They couldn't possibly never go out and stay at by Lake Mountain at all times. This was also why most family powers rarely resorted to completely turning against each other in life or death struggles. Because for such matters, one must be thoroughly committed to the task, to eradicate the roots completely. However, within the 99 mystical talisman scripture, there are several life-saving talismans like the life substitute talisman. Once my drawing of third-rank talismans becomes more secure and I collect the required materials, the children can use them, Lu Changxing pondered within. He then wrote a letter to Xiao Xie, mentioning the matter of family protection. On the vast expanse of Baishui Lake, Lu Changxing and Chu Jinjin were sitting in a small boat, each holding a bamboo fishing rod, fishing. Next to the boat, Lu Wangshu, dressed in a pink brocade dress, sat squatting on a cold blue dark turtle. Holding a mini fishing rod, she fished with earnestness. Seeing the fishing rod in her hands start to bend, Lu Wangshu immediately shouted excitedly, "Daddy, Mommy, I've got another fish." Little Wangshu is so amazing. Chu Jinjin, seeing this, instantly smiled and encouraged out loud, helping Lu Wangshu lift the fishing rod. Chapter 633, 40 Spiritual Root Offspring. Lottery. Then she put the spiritual fish she had hooked into the basket by her side and said to Lu Changxing, "Husband, look, Wangshu caught even more than you did." Haha, fishing is mainly about cultivating one's sentiments. As long as you're happy, why care whether you catch any fish or not? Upon hearing this, the corners of Lu Changxing's mouth twitched as he stubbornly said. Afterward he looked towards the distance, where his brothers Lu Pingon, Lu Xianji and Lu Yun were fishing with a net on a large boat, and shouted loudly, "Would you guys keep it down and move further away? You're scaring all my fish away." "Dad, we're already so far away, how can you still blame us?" Lu Yun, upon hearing this, immediately called out in protest. "You rascal!" Lu Changxing said with annoyance. Then, looking at his own fishing hook, he was full of confusion as to why he wasn't getting any bites. "Husband, Feifei is about to give birth." At that moment, Lu Miaoyun came flying over on a cloud veil and spoke to Lu Changxing, signaling that the child in the concubine by Feifei's womb was going to be born. Good. Lu Changxing immediately went to see with Chu Jinjin and Lu Miaoyun. But his daughter Lu Wangshu was still eager to continue fishing. Lu Changxing immediately called Lu Xianji over to keep an eye on his precious daughter, lest the fish should pull her into the lake. Coming to the Lu family mansion at Baiyun Peak, Lu Changxing and several wives and concubines chatted as they waited outside the delivery room. He was quite expectant of the child in Bai Feifei's belly. If this child had a spiritual root, it would be his 40th child with a spiritual root. The system would likely accompany this with a child money reward. Time passed by bit by bit. About half an hour later, with a mystical tremor, the system's notification sounded. Congratulations, host, for your 40 progeny with spiritual roots, you have earned one lottery draw chance. Not only does this child have a spiritual root, but it's also a pretty good one, probably a 5th grade spiritual root. Lu Changxing immediately deduced the child's spiritual root situation through the tremor. This instantly cheered him up. Not long afterward, the door to the delivery room opened. Congratulations, master, it's a young master. The midwife came out of the room holding an infant, wrapped in swaddling clothes and looking adorable, and greeted Lu Changxing with a cheerful smile. As a foundation establishment cultivator, and with Bai Feifei being a cultivator at the 6th level of energy refinement, the infant was rosy and cute right from birth. Good, a reward is in order. Lu Changxing took out 10 lower-grade spirit stones from his storage bag to give as a reward. Thank you, master, thank you, master. The midwife's face bloomed like a chrysanthemum with her smile. She was originally just an external cultivator of the Lu family. But ever since she was appointed to Lu Changxing's household to aid in childbirth, her days were thriving. Not only was her work much easier, but whenever she helped with childbirth for Lu Changxing's family, she often received red envelopes and auspicious money. When Lu Changxing moved to Bai Lake Mountain, she came along too, and now the well-being of an entire family depended on her. Feifei, you've worked hard. After looking at his son for a few moments, Lu Changxing went to Bai Feifei's room and said gently. Having well over 100 children, he no longer felt much inner turmoil over such events. But it was still important to show the right attitude. Plus, this child not only had a 5th grade spiritual root but also came with system-granted child money, leaving him in quite a good mood. Husband, it wasn't difficult. Bai Feifei was somewhat surprised and touched by Lu Changxing's comforting words. When she gave birth to her first child, Lu Changxing wasn't even at home. Now that Lu Changxing had become a foundation-building great cultivator and the master of Bai Lake Mountain, and he actually waited outside the birthing room and came to comfort her as soon as he could, she was pleasantly astonished. After a brief conversation with Bai Feifei and telling her to rest well, Lu Changxing left. System. Lu Changxing went to the top of Baiyun Peak and summoned his mental spirit to connect with the system, looking up his newly born child. Name, Lu Yunfei, lifespan, 178th, talent, 5th grade spiritual root, cultivation level, none, indeed a 5th grade spiritual root. Now, aside from Pingan, my Lu family finally has a second child with a 5th grade spiritual root. Lu Changxing exhaled lightly, his face bearing a faint smile. Having a 5th grade spiritual root meant that this child had the potential for foundation establishment. However, to advance my 4th grade spiritual root to the 3rd grade, I still need a child with a 4th grade spiritual root. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult to slowly accumulate enough. Lu Changxing thought about his own spiritual root. He was full of anticipation for the children yet to be born, especially the one in Nangong Mili's belly. Bai Feifei's child has been born. I wonder what exactly is going on with the child in Nangong Mili's belly. At this moment, Lu Changxing thought of the child in Nangong Mili's belly, unsure of its condition. System, draw the lottery. Without wasting another thought, he silently prompted the lottery to begin in his mind. He was curious to see if this lottery draw would bring him any precious elixir medicines or heaven and earth treasures that might resolve Ling Zixio's health issues. Even though Ling Zixio's condition had begun to improve with his and Lu Maiage's treatment, he felt somewhat guilty towards her and wanted to make it up to her so that she could recover sooner. The familiar system roulette wheel appeared, then spun rapidly with a glow of golden light. Under Lu Changxing's expectant gaze, the gold light landed on skills. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining 2nd rank wine brewing skills. The reward has been distributed to the system space. The host can check it at any time. A light orb shaped like a wine jug emerged from the roulette wheel, along with the system's voice. 2nd rank wine brewing skills. Upon use, one can directly master 2nd rank wine brewing skills and the corresponding complete compendium of wines. Chapter 634, 40 Spiritual Root Offsprings. Lottery Draw, Wine Brewing? Lu Changxing furrowed his brows upon seeing the reward for this lottery draw. As his strength and status grew, he gradually became indifferent to the various skills in cultivation. Because even if he mastered these skills, they took up a lot of time to utilize. Just like how he now had mastered second-rank talisman making, second-rank puppeteering, second-rank spirit slaughterer, and second-rank alchemy. But as a single person he simply couldn't afford to be distracted by so many tasks. As for passing them down to children and teaching future generations, skills like these were not easy to teach and took a lot of time. If it's wine brewing, let it be wine brewing then. At least it's still a second-grade skill. Besides, alcoholic beverages can be produced on an industrial assembly line. With this second-grade wine brewing skill, I can brew second-rank spirits for myself and also add a line of alcoholic drink production to the family enterprise. Lu Changxing thought for a moment, mulling over the idea. He then looked at the orb of light in the system space and used it on himself. Suddenly, a surge of knowledge flowed into his mind out of nowhere. Introduction to Wine Brewing, Basics of Wine Brewing Compendium, First Grade Wine Brewing Compendium, Second Grade Wine Brewing Compendium, Drink the strongest spirits, love the dearest ones, savor different wines, enjoy a refined life, after a long time. Knowledge about wine brewing poured into Lu Changxing's mind like a revelation, allowing him to fully grasp the processes of brewing, purifying, fermenting, and storing spiritual alcohols, among others. It's worthy of being a second-grade skill. Even though it's just a minor art in the 100 skills of cultivation, it's quite complex. Spirit fruit wine, spirit rice wine, spirit grain wine, spiritual medicine wine, special types of spiritual wines. Lu Changxing quietly digested the knowledge about wine brewing in his mind. He used to often drink Lu families by Lake Bamboo wine and White Jade 100 Flowers wine, so he had a fair understanding of wine brewing thanks to the fifth elder of the Lu family. But now, with the second-grade wine brewing skill, Lu Changxing realized how simple and crude the Lu family's previous wine brewing practice was. This wine brewing can actually be considered a branch of alchemy. Compared to elixir medicines, spiritual alcohols have the advantage of tasting good, suitable for entertaining guests and lightening the mood. And their effects are gentler than those of elixir medicines, practically non-toxic, without side effects, unlike elixir medicines that carry elixir toxicity, and too much consumption can even lead to immunity. Now with Zishao's health condition, she needs to be nursed gradually, harsh treatments can't be applied, so if I can brew and modulate a type of spiritual wine suitable for her, it might aid in her recovery. Lu Changxing pondered the possibilities in his mind, thinking as a second-tier top-level wine master, he could totally customize drinks according to Ling Zixio's condition. This would certainly be a significant help to her recovery. Immediately, Lu Changxing considered Ling Zixio's situation and organized his thoughts. He then took out writing materials and listed various spiritual medicines, materials and tools, instructing the Ji family to purchase them for him. Having learned from previous experiences, he naturally wouldn't wander recklessly anymore. For everything else he would have the Ji family beside him take care of it. And the Ji family was more than happy to undertake such tasks. Half a month later, after receiving a response from Hong Yi, Lu Changxing sent Lu Miaoge with Lu Pinggan to Rui Prefecture to bring some of the Lu family disciples back to Bai Lake Mountain. Taking into account the safety issues and considering so many family disciples, Lu Changxing directly spent 3,000 spirit stones and also used a superior grade second-rank talisman as compensation to request the protection of a Foundation Establishment Escort Master from Heaven's Might Escort Agency. 2 Foundation Building Great Cultivators, 3 Energy Refinement Late-Stage Cultivators, and 1 Martial Arts Great Master escorted commoners the entire way, which was quite an extravagant measure. This gave Lu Changxing yet another reputation for being extravagant and opulent. However, Lu Changxing did this on purpose. Through this way, he revealed to the outside world that he had become a second-grade superior talisman master. And that in the Red Leaf Valley market, his own Peace Talisman Hall would add a superior grade talisman every 3 months. From Rui Prefecture to Bai Lake Mountain is not far. Taking a spirit boat, it's about a 4-day journey. This trip could be said to be very safe, as no danger or trouble was encountered. Faced with this situation, the escort master was very polite. He said that since they encountered no danger and the task was too simple, he refunded 2,000 spirit stones to Lu Changxing. Escort Master Lu, how could I accept this? Lu Changxing spoke out. Knowing that his family had a second-rank talisman master and a second-rank array master, The other party was using this gesture to foster good relations with him. Master Lu is too polite, we can do more business in this regard in the future. Lu Haijin appeared to be in his 40s, tall and strong, not only possessing foundation establishment cultivation but also a body cultivator. Those capable of opening an escort agency and being an escort guard generally have extraordinary combat abilities. Of course, in 1 month's time during my Lu family's clan establishment ceremony, if escort Master Lu is free, you're welcome to attend. Lu Changxing said politely. He knew that he would inevitably deal with such escort agencies in the future. After all, aside from himself and Lu Miaoge, the family currently lacked high-level combat power. In the future, there would be many occasions when outside business would require the use of escort guards. Good, Lu will certainly come to attend then. Lu Haijin spoke out. As escort guards tasked with protecting and escorting others, they naturally needed to prepare many life-saving measures. And talismans are one of the best choices for cultivators. Getting to know someone like Lu Changxing, a second-grade superior talisman master, and securing a stable source of talismans was a great opportunity for them. After seeing off Lu Haijin, Lu Changxing settled his wife and children. Although wives and children came on this trip, not many ultimately planned to settle in by Lake Mountain. Because many of the children grew up in Qingzhou Mountain, they roughly knew about by Lake Mountain. Now accustomed to the prosperous outside world, having established families outside, many were unwilling to settle in by Lake Mountain. Or they felt that without spiritual roots, they would not fit in at by Lake Mountain. Faced with this situation, Lu Changxing had long been clear about it, so he let them make their own choices. One day Lu Changxing received a reply from Xiao Xia. She mentioned that it was also difficult for her to move an array master within Qingyun's sect. To invite a second-tier top-level array master, Lu Changxing would have to use a Qingyun order to ask for someone. However, she stated that she could invite a first-grade top-level array master. If Lu Changxing needed, she could bring the person over when she came to attend the Lu family clan establishment ceremony in a while. Using a Qingyun order to request someone from Qingyun sect. Hearing this, Lu Changxing pondered in his heart. He wouldn't mind using a Qingyun order to invite an array master to come over and rearrange by Lake Mountain inside and out. But this Qingyun order was obtained by his loose cultivator identity Han Li. Once used, who knew if it would bring about more trouble? I'll wait for Shiyu to come over and then decide. Lu Changxing thought for a bit and replied to Xiao Xia. He planned to wait for the clan establishment ceremony and then decide when Xiao Xia arrived. At that time he could also ask Meng Yibai and Lady Meng about it and thank her master. As for the matter of the family guarding the site, it was not mentioned in the letter, probably because Xiao Xia had not yet received the letter he sent afterward. Lu Changxing wasn't in a hurry and decided to ask about everything at once. I've heard that the Mountain Lord Lu not only possesses great destiny but also an unusual romantic charm. Could it be that he has a special relationship with Fairy Shiyu of the Qingyun sect as well? Hiss, we shouldn't speak recklessly. Hearing this commotion, the family powers were inwardly shocked, gaining a new understanding of the network of relationships of Blue Lake Mountain. After all, for them, even just having a bit of acquaintance with a foundation establishment disciple of the Qingyun sect was remarkable. And now, a high disciple of a nascent soul immortal was willing to attend the Blue Lake Mountain establishment ceremony. Fairy Shiyu. Inside the grand hall, when Lu Changxing heard of Xiao Shiyu's arrival, his face immediately revealed a smile, and he went outside to greet her. Lu Daoist. Clad in a moon-white dress, Xiao Shiyu resembled a nine-heavens bright moon, exuding a cool and noble aura that captured the attention of several people who wanted to greet her. Please take a seat, Fairy Shiyu. Their current relationship was not yet suitable for public disclosure. It was as ordinary as that of other guests. However, Ling Zixiao beside him couldn't help but take an extra glance at Xiao Shiyu. A little Wangshu's eyebrows and eyes, they bear a resemblance to Fairy Shiyu. Chu Jinjin, too, was somewhat taken aback as she observed Xiao Shiyu. As time slowly ticked away and most of the guests had arrived, Lu Changxing saw that the auspicious time had come. He stood up with Ling Zixiao and Lu Miaoge, raised his cup and declared, I am honored by everyone's presence at the establishment ceremony of my Blue Lake Mountain Lu family. Today I formally announce the Lu family of Blue Lake Mountain is established. Lu Changxing took a deep breath and spoke out loud. Congratulations, Lu Mountain Lord. As Qingzhou Mountain Lu family, We celebrate Blue Lake Mountain Lu family's establishment, wishing prosperity, and that one day it will rise to be a golden core family renowned throughout the southern wilderness. As Hundred Birds Lake by family, we congratulate Blue Lake Mountain Lu family. As Small G Mountain G family, we congratulate Blue Lake Mountain Lu family. As Wugong Ridge Jing family, we congratulate Blue Lake Mountain Lu family. All the attending guests and family powers raised their cups in congratulations to Lu Changxing upon hearing his announcement. At that moment, suddenly a system notification rang out. Congratulations, host, the total number of your progeny has reached 100, a cultivation family is established, the family function is unlocked, and you receive the unique treasure Lu family genealogy. The family function, Lu family genealogy? Lu Changxing heard this system notification and was momentarily taken aback. He hadn't expected that aside from opening a system panel before, now that he had established his family and held a ceremony, he would unlock a family function and obtain a Lu family genealogy. He didn't look into these details and kept his expression unchanged as he drained the cup in one gulp. My fellow Taoists, I, Lu Changxing, hereby pledge that Blue Lake Mountain will adhere to an independent and peaceful foreign policy, and will always follow the path of peaceful development. We of Blue Lake Mountain Lu family are willing to join all major families and powers in creating a mutually beneficial and commonly prosperous future. Lu Changxing continued to speak. This establishment ceremony was not only a family founding ritual, but also a means to express his family's stance to outsiders, seeking sufficient partners for cooperation. We of Qingzhou Mountain wish to have an intimate relationship with Blue Lake Mountain and create a wonderful future together. We of Hundred Birds Lake by family wish to form an everlasting alliance with Blue Lake Mountain. We of Wugong Ridge Jing family wish to form an everlasting alliance with Blue Lake Mountain. Our family feels the same. Hearing this, the family powers one after another expressed their position. Kaiyun True Immortal, for such a minor matter, had sent Lady Meng, a false core immortal, to reflect. I've only heard about it, but the specifics are unclear. But it seems that Lady Meng must suspect you. I guess it's because of the incident where you came to Green River Marketplace and then eliminated the Yu family's foundation establishment cultivators, which aroused Lady Meng's suspicions. Xiaoxia pondered slightly and expressed her thoughts. Yet she was puzzled as to why, for such a trivial matter, her master would punish Lady Meng with 10 years in the Xianin Cave. After all, the Xianin Cave was one of the Qingyun sect's 10 major punishments. Furthermore, as a false core immortal, even if Lady Meng violated the sect's rules, she would usually be assigned to a bitterly cold place to stand guard, not sent to reflect. Also, hearing from Lu Changxing that her master had inquired into the matter, she suspected that her master might also be aware of what had happened. That's possible. Lu Changxing nodded. He had suspected this before, thinking that apart from these reasons, he didn't know what else might cause Lady Meng to suspect him. Changxing, do you plan to use the Qingyun token to invite an array master from Qingyun sect to set up formations at Bai Lake Mountain? Xiaoxia asked out loud. That's right, I was planning to have Zishao do it, but because of the incident with Xiahou Money, Zishao was injured and won't be able to engage in formation-related matters for a while. Lu Changxing sighed. Although using the Qingyun token just to invite an array master seems somewhat wasteful, the issue of the family's great formation couldn't remain unresolved forever. Changxing, give me the Qingyun token, and I will go to Qingyun sect on this trip to inquire for you about the array master. Xiaoxia said out loud. She felt that her master suspected that Lu Changxing had killed Meng Yibai, so she thought of taking the token to the Qingyun sect herself in order to subtly indicate to her master that Lu Changxing was the loose cultivator, Han Li. In this way, on account of Lu Changxing once saving her senior sister, maybe her master would not pursue the matter any further. Although she found her master's current response puzzling, she still intended to proceed this way. Okay, since that's the case, I'll trouble you with this, Shiyu, Lu Changxing said upon hearing her offer. The couple chatted casually and shared a tender moment, then dressed and left the yard, ready to visit their daughter. He immediately took hold of Lu Miage's hand, speaking gently, "Sister Miaoga, in a few years, once things have settled down, well, visit Qingshan and Qingzhou at Jinyang sect in Yu country." Originally, he had planned that in a few years, once the family situation was stable, they would head to Jinyang sect in Yu country to visit their children. He then turned to look at his son Lu Xianji. Name, Lu Xianji, lifespan, 21/99, talent, 9th grade spiritual root, cultivation level, 4th level of Qi refinement, talent, puppet affinity 27%. The highest puppet affinity is only 27%? Seeing his son Lu Xianzi's talent, Lu Changxing frowned slightly. He hadn't expected Lu Xianzi's talent to be so poor. But considering that his son Lu Xianji had been immersed in his teachings from a young age and had been taught for many years, yet still remained a first-grade low-level puppet master. To say he has put in effort, Lu Xianji has indeed tried hard and devoted a lot of thought to it. Ah well, there aren't that many geniuses after all, Lu Changxing sighed slightly. He realized that sometimes, the gap between people is even wider than the gap between humans and baboons. If effort were enough, what would be the point of talent? After a general look at the other children's talents, aside from a few exceptions, most of the talents were quite ordinary, within 30%. However, with this insight into their talents, at least he now had a clear direction for development. Name, Lu Wangshu, lifespan, April 89, talent, 4th grade spiritual root, blood talisman spiritual body, superior spiritual body, cultivation level, none, talent, fishing affinity 30%, fishing? And even 30%. As Lu Changxing looked at his daughter Lu Wangshu's talent, he was stunned and somewhat bewildered. As a blood talisman spiritual body, shouldn't she have an exceptional talent for talisman making? Yet she possesses such an ability in fishing. But the next moment he remembered that his daughter's blood talisman spiritual body had not yet awakened. Once her blood talisman spiritual body awakens, this area of talent is likely to substantially improve. After briefly reviewing his children's talents, Lu Changxing turned his attention to the system space. Inside, besides the coagulation crystal elixirs, spirit pills, luminous treasure tree, Mount Sumeru Tree King, 100 Steeds towering pagoda lock, and the spiritual eye spring that he had placed there was also a new jade scroll. Lu family genealogy. Description: unique supreme treasure, bound to the host Lu Changxing. Such a succinct description. Lu Changxing raised an eyebrow at the Lu family genealogy. He then took out the Lu family genealogy. Immediately, a jade scroll appeared in his hand. Simultaneously, information related to the Lu family genealogy flowed into his mind, making him understand the effects of the genealogy. This? Lu Changxing's eyes widened as he looked at the Lu family genealogy in his hands, full of surprise and disbelief. The Lu family genealogy had 3 functions. First, the genealogy can reveal whether a family member has died. Second, the genealogy can sense if a family member has betrayed the family. Third, to be named in the genealogy is to have true spirit immortality. Curiosity filled her as she wondered how many women like Xiao Shiyu Lu Changxing had outside. Shiyu. After spending half an hour playing around, Lu Changxing secretly communicated with Xiao Shiyu, mentioning the get-together with Hong Yi, Han Lin, Zhao Qingqing and the others. "Little Wangshu, mommy has something to take care of, he'll come to play with you later," Xiao Shiyu said to Lu Wangshu, somewhat reluctantly letting go. Mommy, don't worry, it'll be good." Lu Wangshu, sitting cross-legged on the cold blue dark turtle, fishing rod in hand, as absorbed in fishing as ever, did not seem the least bit reluctant as she sweetly reassured Xiao Shiyu and continued with her fishing. Shortly after, Xiao Shiyu and Lu Changxing made their way to the main reception hall of Biyun Villa. Before long, all 6 immortal seedlings that had originally come from Rui Prefecture, except for Li Feiyu, gathered once again. Compared to the assemblage a decade ago at the Gathering of Immortals Tower in Rui Prefecture, the 5 of them had all changed significantly. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.